Hello, and welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. This is Fiction Conviction, a rebuttal to Cam, Convicting a Murderer, Episode 10.
Thank you so much there for your introduction, Jack61, and a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for showing up, and thank you again very much for your support. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. And guys, before we start today's podcast, I've got some sad news to share with you guys. A lot of you may be aware of it, some of you may not be. But yesterday, one of our friends, our dear friends, part of the community, a true supporter for both Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, and also for seeking justice for Teresa Horbach, Linda Kay, also known as Checking Convictions. She sadly passed away yesterday. I don't know all the details, but I just wanted to let the wider community know of the sad passing of Linda Kay. And we, all of us here on the Foul Play team, and I'm sure people in chat, send their love and condolences to the family at this very, very difficult time. All of us, I know, have lost someone that they love, a family member, to the scourges of cancer, unfortunately, and cancer seems to take the very, very best of us. I just wanted to say just a few quick words and then pass it over to my panel. I've known Linda for about 5 years or so. I remember her back in the days of Eric Cozy, the late Eric Cozy, and I always found Linda to be a very passionate person. She certainly tells you how it is, and I really enjoyed her enthusiasm and her great show of support for the causes actually. And I remember I was very lucky to have worked with Linda a little bit here on Foul Play and also on her own YouTube channel. And I did a few podcasts with her, and I know members of the Foul Play team have been on her channel as well. We've really lost a trooper, a hard worker, a dedicated person, good, bad, or otherwise. She was always there. And the amazing thing is, you'll actually see a few pictures of Linda in our podcast today. As you know, Linda was shown in a clip on Convicting a Murderer where she was talking about Ida Mafel. And so you'll see a few pictures of her. So again, guys, I want to express my condolences to her family. These are difficult times. So what I like to do, guys, I like to pass it over to my panel if they want to say any quick words regarding Linda. Thank you so much. We have Jack61. Jack61.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. I met Linda, oh gosh, it was on Eric Cozy's YouTube, just in chat, of course. And then I don't remember who sent the invite to the Discord, but I remember talking to her there quite a bit. And of course, many others that were in that Discord group. And then, much later, after I came to Foul Play, and a lot of people don't know this, we were talking, there was probably 15, 20 of us talking in chat one day in the office, and this whole idea about about podcasting came up, and talking about the cases, both of them actually, and it was I don't remember the exact words, so I'm not going to try to quote them, but it was something to the effect about having an open format in a podcast to talk about the case, and that's basically between Linda and BB was there, Sammy. I don't remember who all was there, but from that was born the idea of the open mic. That's where it came from.
Fantastic.
So, and I was resistant. I was really resistant at first to do that because it really wasn't. My whole thing is not detracting from the case itself. Don't become in front of it, and that it was always a thing for me. It still is. So I was very resistant, but they wore me down, and so the idea was born. So, you know, but to Linda's family, uh, I send the greatest empathy and compassion. I lost many loved ones in my family,
Yeah,
including a child, and it's just something you have to pick up and live with, and it's hard.
it is
And
hard.
then compassion to, of course, to Becca and Jinx and Nosy and Sammy and so many really close friends that were close to Linda the last several years. A lot of love and thoughts for them as well. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you so much there, Jack61. Beautiful words. Thank you. Just Rhonda. Just Rhonda.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Dr. Silkman. I have known Linda probably since 2018, I want to say, way back in the day, like Jack said. And like Jack, I just, I also have lost several loved ones to cancer, including, like Jack, also a child of my own. And I know that brutality and that pain and suffering that comes along with that. And I know the continued pain and suffering that comes along after our loved one has passed. And I wanted to offer my compassion and condolences and prayers to Linda's family at this time. And it's not an easy time to get through. I know that from my own experiences, and my thoughts and prayers will be with all of you during the next however long you need to get through.
Correct.
This.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. Yeah, beautiful words. Yes, we've all lost a loved one. I lost my dear wife in 2014 to cancer, and every day is a struggle. But I tell you what, the power of this community here, and also you guys in chat, for your love and your support, helps us and helps those that have passed away. That strength and unity is so important to be part of something, and I think that's awesome. Thank you so much there, Just Rhonda. And next we have Susan. Susan.
Thank you, Doc. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in voice chat on Discord with Linda and BB and Jinx, and there was kind of a group of us that were there daily. So spent a lot of time there. She was a fireball, I'll tell you that. Pretty funny as well. But yeah, I just send my deepest condolences to her family. I know how difficult this is. I've lost my mother, and it's a tough thing. But you're supported here in this community. I know that you know that. And I send you love and peace, and rest in peace, Linda.
Thank you so much, Susan. Beautiful words. And next we have Alice. Alice.
Hi, Doc. Yeah, it's a really sad day. I think it's just the fact of how quick it affected Linda as well, because we got told at the end of August-ish that this was happening to her, so it's happened pretty rapidly. So, and I mean, you can't prepare. Nobody can prepare. And no matter how much you try and prepare, it's still a gut punch. Linda was, she was funny. Her laugh was infectious. I used to laugh at everybody on YouTube and be like, look at they dafties. No way you catch me doing that. And it was Linda that got me on her channel for my debut. She was big on the firsts, the first to get on the channel and things like that. So yes, just very, very sad for us all. Very, very sad for the community in general. She was like a mama bear to some, you know, and she was friends with others. So rest in peace, Linda. Now you know the truth, because you can find out for Eric Cozy, you can find out for Teresa herself, and you can have a party with Denise, who you lost a few years ago. So we miss you already, Linda, and condolences to her family and friends who are going through a horrible, horrible time right now. Our thoughts and healing vibes are with you. Thanks,
Awesome.
Doc.
Thank you so much, Alice. Next we have I Don't Recall.
Yeah, for me, it was a shock, like Alice said, how fast it happened. And I suppose it's a blessing in a way that she didn't have to linger and suffer. But it's still a gut punch, like Alice said as well. She's one day older than I am, and so it's really opens up your eyes. And she was definitely dedicated, especially to Brendan. And bless her for that. And condolences to her family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, beautiful words, and I'm sure that's echoed with everybody in chat. It is a shock. Cancer is just one of those vicious diseases that unfortunately takes the very best of us. And her candle will always be lit. We will never forget Linda. She wasn't perfect. We understand that. None of us are. But it's great when you have a trooper like that, someone who, like Jack 61, used to hand over the microphone and gave your time of day and gave you a voice. And I think today more than ever, that form of support for the boys and also for the memory of Teresa and also for many other cases is so important. And we must continue the great work that Linda has set forth. And we'll never forget Linda. Like so many others who have passed that we know, it's very, very sad for the community. And guys, the Foul Play team would like to dedicate this podcast to Linda, her memory and her family. And hopefully we can do her justice and hope that she's proud of us. I still remember doing several podcasts with her on Ken Kratz's book. And it was such a belly laugh and it was really, really great. Fantastic podcast. And, I'm sure her channel will still be up and her family should be very, very proud of her and the work that she's done for the community. Well, look, thank you so much, guys. What we're going to do, we're going to continue our rebuttal of Convicting a Murderer. This is episode 10. So, Jack 61, unless there are any comments from anybody, are we able to have the very first slide, please? Awesome. So this one here, guys, this is the last episode, episode number 10 in Convicting a Murderer, and the episode is entitled The Real Villain. Now today, guys, what we've done and what we're going to continue doing is we've put together a series of short clips in which we're going to discuss. And guys, if you have questions, please put a queue and we'll try and answer the questions during the podcast. If not, we can do it towards the end because we're going to try and finish the majority of the podcast today, our rebuttal. But tomorrow, if possible, if Duke is around tomorrow, he had a family event that he had to attend today. If he can come on tomorrow, he'll do a fantastic discussion and all of us will go in it regarding item BZ. So guys, without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to make a start. And guys, if you enjoy what we do, please subscribe to our channel. Our numbers have steadily increased, which has been fantastic. One thing, and I'm sure everyone on the panel will agree, we have very dedicated and passionate supporters. We get asked a lot of very, very tough questions, and we appreciate that very much. If you enjoy our podcast, what we do, especially with our Rebuttal and the fantastic open mic series with Jack 61 and the rest of the team, please put your thumbs up, hit the like button. That'll be awesome. And again, guys, please share our podcasts. The more people that can see them, the better. Thank you so much. Now, just a couple of words of warning. These represent our own opinions and thoughts, right? So that's very important. You may watch Convicting a Murderer and totally come up with your own opinions, your own thoughts about the guilt or otherwise of both Stephen and Brendan, and that's cool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all, right, guys? It's very
absolutely. People need to form their own opinion. It's the only way they can work through it.
Correct. The important thing is that, guys, you go back to the original material. Don't just be reliant on making a murderer or convicting a murderer. A lot of people have worked very, very hard in our library, our webpage, and it contains a rich repository of information, all free, no paywall. Go your hardest, guys. Do your own research, come up with your own conclusions, and hey, you may even appear on a podcast with Jack 61 on an open mic if you've got an hypothesis or an idea. Guys, at the end of the day, it's important to form your own opinions. Do not listen to us or anybody else. Form your own opinions. If you believe in the guilt of the boys, that is okay, right? That is okay, right? If you come up to those conclusions, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So, guys, what we're going to do, if we actually have the very first slide, this is a very interesting episode, episode 10, entitled The Real Villain. And how unbelievable is this, right? As you can see, we have Linda actually as one of the participants in the on the show. And, you know, you can't get anything better than that. And so really the way episode 10 opened up was showing all the supporters. And as you can see here, I think most of us know most of the supporters here. We've had dealings with them and great podcasts. And that's Mark Hoddenott and Linda. And you've got the other guys as well. Help me out, guys.
Stacy Seabrook, lower left, and then Paul Capaldi on the bottom right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure who the lady is on the top left-hand corner.
Paula Grabo.
Okay. So it's very, very interesting how what I was showing at the beginning of episode 10 was the fact that you have very, very passionate people, as shown here in the diagram, from all over the world. I know that Mark is from Australia, and he has actually visited Stephen. He's gone to the salvage yard many times, spoken with Stephen, spoken with the brothers. He's unbelievable, a supporter and hard worker. And as you can see here, as shown in episode 10 of Cam, people have even done billboards, right? And it costs a lot of money to put these billboards. And it was rather amazing and disingenuous in a way how Candace sort of like shook her head to say, what? People are offering their own money, $100,000 rewards to find out who the potential murderers are. Jack 61, any comments?
Well, yeah, because if you watch episode 10, I've watched it several times. I'm sure Doc has and probably others, but and I do think it's disingenuous. And it wasn't 100%, but it was really close on how I think Convicting Murder tried to paint all truthers with the same crazy brush. Because there are theories out there. Hey, look, anybody can hear whatever theory you want, but if you tell me something and you can't connect anything to that, I'm not going to call you crazy, but it's out there on Pluto to me. I can't follow it. I can't. as much as you may want me to agree with, whatever you're talking about, if you cannot connect me, at least in some minimal way, I can't make that leap with you, and I won't do it. So there are, and there have been for years. Doc will tell you. Anybody in this panel will tell you there's been some real whoppers out there.
We've had, I think we've
we just can't go. We can't agree with. But hey, if somebody wants to have that theory, more power to you. I just don't. I can't. So I just think it was really unfair the way that they tried to paint us and trap us in with some of these. What was it? The cow. What the hell was that about the cow? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's basically using the movement of the cows in order to like a GPS.
Yeah, yes, that was it. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Correct. Now, there was a question about who put up the billboard. Now, I remember a while back there was a group of supporters. I'm not sure whether was Eric Cozy involved in. There was a group of supporters who put up the billboards around Wisconsin. As far as I remember, there were quite a few. The Free Brendan and a couple of other billboards. Does anyone know what the details actually were regarding those billboards?
I think it was Tracy Keogh, who's part of the community.
Tracy and Mark, and there were others too.
Yeah, there was a few others, but I think Tracy, kind of started it, said that this is a thing that she was looking to do, and other people donated money to get the billboards put up, and they were put up in several different places. They were put up in Manitowoc. I think they were one was put up in Calumet, so they were around the area. And it was Tracy that, as far as I know, did that. But she did get help, from other people. I'm not sure if there's any more in the works. But I know Tracy does do it's like a spam email thing for Brendan. And it's on a certain day. She sends out a notification. Email date is say December 4th. And then everybody will send the email, and it goes everywhere. It goes to Calumet. It goes to Manitowoc. We got all the rest of them. Governor Evers, mostly Governor Evers, because that's who we're wanting to get. That's who can give Brendan his clemency, no clemency. What is it?
A pardon. Is it a pardon?
I think so. I think that's what it is. So so that's what it's all for. It's the billboards. I think the meaning of the billboards, Doc, was basically putting them on notice. To say, look, this is not going away. We are not going away. And if we need to put up things like this to prove your corruption, then that's what we're going to do. So it's like a slap in the face to them all, Doc, And I thought it was a brilliant idea to do stuff like that. But like I say, I don't know if there's others in the works or anything like that. But you can find Tracy on Twitter as well. I'm not sure if she's in Discord or anything like that.
I haven't seen her in Discord, but I've interacted, and I think Jack61 too has interacted with her on X, Twitter.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Facebook.
Yes, and it's amazing. A lot of the tweets that I do, and also Jack61, they end up going to Governor Evers as well. So we put up all the appropriate little clips and information, and I think hopefully they'll have some type of impact. But the important thing at the end of the day, right? You can see from this picture here, right? The whole variety of individuals that come out of their normal daily routine and to go to Wisconsin and put up placards and things like that. It takes a real special person to do that. And Siebert, he writes all these beautiful songs and things like that. And it's important to keep that message alive. And you can see here, Linda as well, the false confessions. I think, as you said, Alice, that that message has to be said loud and clear. Otherwise, they just hope that we all go away and we're not a voice in the community. Alice.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, Doc. I mean, Calumet, Uyghur, Fassbender, Kratz, the whole lot of them thought that this was dead and buried when Stephen and Brendan got convicted. You know, they thought that was it, you know, done, dusted, we've done our job, we've stopped our state from becoming bankrupt, you know, basically, in case Stephen did get the 36 million. I mean, we all know that there was no way that he was going to get 36 million pounds. You know what I mean? We know that. But he would have got a good bloody whopping few million at least.
Yes.
You know, for the what they put him through, which he was bloody entitled to, in my opinion. You know,
100% correct. 100% correct.
Yeah, and they did not realize just how powerful and eye-opening that Ma'am was, you know, and like we've all said before, we haven't been duped by a documentary. Everything that we've talked about on every podcast that we have done, and there's probably over 300 of them now,
easy.
if not more. You know what I mean? That we've done easy, Doc. Yeah, easy. You know, and what we do it off of is documentation and their own words and their own actions. You know, we took it apart. We've took it apart bit by bit. You know, we've even done the books that they've bloody wrote to try and cover their own asses and everything like that as well. Correct. And it's no worked because we're still here. Why? Because we know that there's a wrong being done. You know what I mean? And that's why we're here, is for the wrong. And that's why Linda was here as well, because she knew the major wrongs that was in her criminal justice system. And she was a warrior for that, you know?
100% correct. Thank you so much, Alice. Jack 61, did you have a comment, sir?
Oh, crap. I did, but I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I know what it was. Was. You know, talking about it's basically talking about people from the world that were affected by Making a Murderer. Stacy Seabrook, I think, has written, I think he said 17 different songs.
Quite a
17,
lot of songs.
I think. Yeah. So a real impact for somebody that's a singer-songwriter, and he is really damn good. This guy is a real musician, in my opinion.
Oh, he is. He is, absolutely. And that goes to show the dangers of a program like Convicting a Murderer. Convicting a Murderer was essentially basically an anti-documentary against Making a Murderer, and basically, in effect, wants to silence all of us, including the guys that are in chat. None of them, and you'll see through the clips that we're going to play, none of them expected millions and millions of people to have watched Making a Murderer. And it really goes beyond Stephen, Brendan, and Teresa. It goes way beyond that. It's looking at the injustices in the criminal justice system. Jack 61.
It does go far beyond that, because you have to follow the trail. You can't just drop it here. If you want to talk about, I'm not saying necessarily Candace, but that's a whole different bag of worms that you want to get into. I'm talking about people that are truly involved in this project, that have been involved, and I'm talking about on Reddit and other social media that are deeply involved in this project, and what occurred, especially on Reddit, and that was censorship. They did so many things to so many people to prevent us from sharing documentation. It was just a nightmare. At some point we just stopped. We just stopped sharing documents because if you had a almost a letter out of place, they would report it to Reddit admin, and that person would get their account permabanned. You know,
Correct.
it was nuts. So anyway, I got off a tangent there, but you have to understand who these people are and the history behind of what's been done to silence this case. And it is, you said it before, Doc, it's censorship. Stop talking about it, guys. Move the hell on.
It is very much. And when you think about it, guys, Stephen Avery, he was not a model citizen, and we do not condone the things that he did prior to going to prison and when he left prison and he went to the Avery salvage yard. We do not condone what he did. But there were a lot of elements that were really, really wrong with the system. And one of them that I caught very early on was that despite spending, I believe, about 18 years in prison, they opened up their doors and they basically let him out back into society. And he really needed treatment, intervention, looking after. And that goes to show the elements of trying to reintegrate back into society after being in prison for 18 years. He had to do 6 years for what he did to his cousin. 100% agree. Probably would have gotten out earlier on good behavior, but the additional 12 years had a drastic effect on him, his family, everything. And then to be released back into society without any form of therapy or intervention was a real big mistake, in my opinion. But as Jack 61 and Alice and everybody said, Making a Murderer was more than just Brendan and Stephen and Teresa. It was looking at the criminal justice system as a whole, and that's what really opened up my eyes. What's remarkable here is that Convicting a Murderer wants to shut down the conversation. They want to shut down our channel. They want to shut down our voices. They also want to shut down people in chat. They don't want you to talk about it. They just want you to go away. The boys are guilty and let it be. And unfortunately, as you know, many people walk out of prison every week who have been wrongfully convicted. And that's a terrible tragedy. So guys, unless there are any questions, can we have a look at our very first clip, Jack 61? Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah, I'm good, Doc. Yeah, let me. I'll get that loaded up.
Yeah.
Well, just while Jack's getting that up, Doc. I
Would
mean,
you like to
what
call out who's in chat?
gets me is, I mean, especially with these guilters, right? I mean, do they honestly and truly believe that Kathleen Zellner, who has got a reputation to protect, you know, I mean, because of the kind of job that she does, is going to stick by somebody who is guilty?
No.
You know, it's nonsense. She is not going to put her career on the line for anybody. And what people have got to remember about Kathleen Zellner, she represented a guy who was vile. He was the vilest of vilest people.
And she found out he was guilty.
Yep.
She found out he was guilty.
The serial killer.
Yeah.
The serial
She
killer.
found out that he was guilty. Exactly, Jack. She found out that he was guilty, but because of lawyer and client privilege, there was nothing that she could say or do. But before this person died, and he died in jail, she got him to either confess or write an affidavit or a letter or
That's right.
something of that sort, a legal document that said as soon as he passed away, she was going to release everything that he had told her. And that's exactly what she did, you know. And some of these families got, I mean, air quotes, closure, you know, because they got information that they didn't know. So since then, Kathleen Zellner is, and that was as far as I'm aware as well, that was the last time she was ever a prosecutor or a defense lawyer or something like that. I think it was a prosecutor she was before that, wasn't it? And that completely changed her. And then she went on to defend the wrongful convicted, you know. And
Correct.
it annoys me that these people think that that woman has spent all this time building up that career for herself, and then she's going to throw it away on somebody like Stephen.
Well,
You
she's
know,
had time. She's had time at this point. I mean, it's been, coming up on 8 years that, she took the case. She's had time to dig, and I'm sure that there's elements that we are unaware of. That if they were there, I think she would have dropped the case. I just do.
Or give it to
Right.
somebody else. Yeah.
Well,
well,
right,
she
exactly.
told Stephen, Jack, did she not? She
I know.
told Stephen right to his face, if I find that you're guilty, then I
I'm
will
out.
tell everybody that you are
Yep.
guilty. You
I'm out,
know,
yeah.
I'm not going to take this case on if I find one bit of evidence that you are guilty. And like you say, Jack, she's been on it for 8 years now. She's probably got a hell of a lot more information that we'll ever get. You know what I mean? And she's still there, and she's still fighting, and she's still putting in motions and everything like that. You know, so for these
Right.
turncoats, that have watched this this cam, and all of a sudden turned their back on Stephen and Brenda, that's their opinion. But I'd like to see what they've seen, that's changed their mind, because I've seen bugger all in cam in all the 10 episodes that has changed my mind on the innocence of Stephen and Brendan. You know what I mean? Yeah, Stephen was not maybe a very nice person, and we do not condone what he did.
No.
But you can't hold somebody to everything that they've done in their past. He spent all years in jail as well. You know.
Got an echo. We've got an
Oh,
echo.
have
No,
I?
it's Neverly. I don't think she was muted. She's muted now. She's
good.
muted.
Oh, you know, and these people still think that she's going to be. It's like no, it's just it's ridiculous, And as I said before, I mean, what annoyed me about, I think it was 9, because I must admit I haven't really watched 10. But when they asked Linda about the bones, it was like, really, all the experts that you could ask or go to for their bloody bones, and you ask Linda, you know what I mean? But I will give Linda her due. She clicked on to what Brenda was doing, and was like, nah, you're not getting me that way, biatch. She's like, I don't know anything about that side of the things, I don't know the ins and outs of that. And I was like, oh, go yourself, Linda.
Correct.
So yeah, it's all BS, you know what I mean? Every single bit of cam is bullshit. It really is.
Thank you so much, Alice. And just to answer that question from Justine J, how long does she normally take to get them free? Look, the average time is between 15 and 20 years.
Yeah, she said that. She said that in a tweet, Doc. Remember? Yeah,
15 to 20 years to get someone out of prison. It took, I think, her over 10 years to get Ryan Ferguson out of prison, and that was a very, very hard case to win, because the judge kept on throwing everything out. And in that particular case, even though 2 critical witnesses came forward and said that they perjured themselves and lied, the judge didn't care, right? So lucky Ryan Ferguson has gone free, because if it wasn't for her hard work and also his father's hard work, the guy would have still been in prison, and he was nowhere near the crime scene. Jack 61.
Yeah, that case, if anybody hasn't watched Dream Killer and listened to Kathleen talk, the state of Missouri really went after her, like behind the scenes. They really, really went after her legally. They tried to. It didn't work, of course, but
correct.
Anyway, I'd like to say hello to Lady Neverly from Neverly Hills.
Hello, everybody. Better late than
That's right.
sorry, right?
That's
correct.
Right.
Correct.
Hi, I'm doing great, and I just wanted to say hello to everybody. And
Awesome.
I've been listening a little bit. Now I'm free, and here I am to say I'm gonna plug in, and I'll be under foul play in comments. So if you have any questions, please tag me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Jack 61, can we have a look at the very first clip?
Absolutely. Yep. Here it comes.
Awesome.
When I watch Making Murder, nothing has ever overwhelmed me the way this case has.
People watched it and it really had an effect on them. It really, it resonated with them for whatever reason. And they made a decision about what happened back then, even though they just, you know, they watched a 10-hour show about it.
They're innocent. These guys were railroaded so bad, so bad. You know, it's just, it breaks my heart. It really does.
How does this happen? How were these filmmakers able to convince so many people that a man like Stephen Avery is innocent?
We all make decisions mostly based upon emotion. When we try to look at facts, facts really don't matter. The documentary was basically preying on people's emotions that he's innocent. So you want to rally behind this person who's being picked on, mistreated, or misunderstood. And you want to support him. You want to care about him.
All right. Well, isn't that a very interesting opening clip? So basically, guys, I really would love to go around the panel, right? So I want to get your opinions and also people in chat. Did Making a Murderer manipulate your emotions and the fact that you didn't care about the facts? You were overwhelmed by the emotions of Making a Murderer and you just had to help Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. Jack 61.
Well, I do think that it definitely was an emotional roller coaster and ride. And it, for me, I mean, I already knew that there were, you know, real issues, but at that point in time in my life with the criminal justice system, I'd looked at a lot of cases. Certainly nothing as in depth as this. I've said this before. But what really, I didn't have this warm, fuzzy feeling about Steve. I was super pissed off about Brendan.
Yep.
And what I felt like that had happened, not being able, obviously at that time, to really know how bad it really was. It was far worse than what was in Making a Murderer, in my opinion. But what I really saw was a terrible investigation and due process basically being really compromised in both cases. That's what I detected, and I wanted to know more, and it encouraged me to do that. And I went immediately to Reddit because I'd been told that there had been a subreddit created. But come to find out, the owner of that sub actually had created that the trailers for Making a Murderer started dropping on Netflix about a month prior to its release. And so this guy, I guess it's a guy, saw an opportunity and he created that subreddit, and boom, it blew up like a monster.
It took off.
It did. I mean, there were days there would be 2,000-3,000 new subs per day.
Oh my
sometimes.
God.
Yes,
Yep.
It was nuts. So for me, no, I didn't fall in love with Stephen. I felt like I said, I was really pissed off about Brendan because I really thought he got screwed. But I didn't walk away from Making a Murderer thinking Stephen's this nice guy. I just didn't. I wasn't affected that way. I just wasn't. So that's my opinion.
So facts matter to you, Jack 61.
Absolutely. Facts have to rule the day. If we're not ruled by the rule of law, just forget it. Pick out who, have a group of people pick out who they want to convict and throw them in jail. Everything else is done.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jack 61. Just Rhonda, what about yourself? Do facts matter?
Absolutely. Facts matter 100%. And I had heard about Stephen Avery, and like Jack, I didn't know how to use the internet other than Google. And so I Googled Stephen Avery and got the Reddit sub. So I started trying to figure that out because I wasn't familiar with Reddit either, but I realized that, there's a whole entire subreddit, devoted to this case. But when I watched Ma'am, it had nothing to do with my emotions. It had to do with, wait a minute, I'm not a, professional. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a detective. I hadn't even gone to college yet for criminal justice. And I just thought that I do know some real basic things, and not really for me, it was the whole thing about the no pictures, no in situ pictures that are taken at the burn pit. And I just thought, wait a minute, that's not right. So then I started digging more. And when I watched Ma'am and when I saw what was done to Brendan, uh, as a mom of 5 sons, I will be honest and tell you that I thought that they had manipulated him and lied to him and fed him information. And I was driven by emotion to learn more about his side of the case at that point. But Ma'am did not make me feel one way or another about guilt or innocence. I seriously became interested because I thought there was something wrong with the way they were collecting or allegedly collecting evidence. I knew enough to know that what I could see at that point wasn't okay.
Yep.
So I started digging more, and
Awesome.
here we are.
Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. What about you, Susan? What was the effect on Ma'am on you?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I mean, after I watched Ma'am, I was just flabbergasted, maybe it's the word. And mostly because of the how law enforcement looked in the
Yes.
show. And that came from trial footage. It came from, what they showed of and it's hard for me anymore to even separate Ma'am from all the knowledge I have in my head now. So but anyway, I it drove me to come online and look for more. I think I first Googled to see if they were still in prison.
Yes.
And then I found, Eric Cozy and Rubber Ducky and I think Perplexed, or I don't know, the early ones that were doing it then.
Correct.
And yeah, I've been here ever since. But Ma'am was not all lies. They're trying to say that it was all a lie. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't. A lot of truth in Ma'am. They did some creative editing. Yes, they did try to garner sympathy for Stephen, and didn't show his true character, I think. But that was part of their story to get you to look at what went down and not judge
Yeah, good
him
point.
to begin with and say, oh, he's guilty, he's a horrible person. So I'm not mad at Ma'am for what they did. I don't like some of the edit stuff that they did. I don't think it was necessary, but that's the way they did it. But yeah, after digging so deeply and looking at everything there is to look at that we have in this case, I'm still of the same opinion that I was when I stopped watching Ma'am. That there's a lot of shady law enforcement stuff that they did that there's so much reasonable doubt that he was wrongfully convicted. Period. And of course Brendan, I think I think he was just railroaded. So
Awesome. Thank you
Doc,
so much, Susan.
Doc,
Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
may I add one thing to?
Of course.
And I should have said this earlier, but another thing that I knew was absolutely wrong that happened that was shown in Ma'am was Krat's press conference. And we've only got a few minutes of it, but that was a 20-minute press conference that he walked.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
It was, and I knew it was wrong. There's reasons why prosecutors don't do that anywhere. If you notice, I think I found maybe 2 other places in the United States that's happened, and they both got sanctioned for it. Harshly sanctioned, because it's so prejudicial against defendants. It destroys the presumption of innocence. That's why it's not done. And his word carries weight, and people forget that.
Yeah.
You got a prosecutor standing up here on TV. They broadcast for 20 minutes, and they interrupted soap operas in mid-afternoon in Wisconsin. I don't know if it was all over the state, but it was certainly in that portion, that region. So that really bothered me, and I knew it was wrong.
Correct. Yeah, I remember vividly seeing that. I was completely shocked. It's a very, very different thing to what happens in Australia. That type of press conference, I don't think I've ever seen one really like that, of that severity and that nature in Australia. It's normally, a lot of that stuff is done behind closed doors. And I know that things in America are done in a very, very different way. For me, that truly was shocking. Yep, for sure. Alice, what about yourself? Are you too emotional? Do facts matter? Alice?
No, I get emotional. I get emotional because I'm reading the facts. You know, it's facts for me. I mean, when I first watched Ma'am, I was like, surely these guys are out of jail. Looked online, seen that they weren't out of jail, that they were still in jail, and I was like, Jesus Christ, how can that be? So then I dug further, found Eric Hosey, and then found yourselves, you know. So, and I've been on this case 4 years now, just over 4 years, I think. 2019 was when I came onto the case. So, and the amount of deep diving that we have done in that amount of time, the amount of FOIAs that people like Jack and Sunshine Christina and, you know, who else has got, you know, there's loads.
Rookie, yours. There's just so many people.
Yeah, so many, Jack, have got FOIAs, and they've shared. Jinx, yeah. And they've shared these documents with the community, you know, and shared them with us. So, yeah, I get emotional, but I get emotional at what I'm reading and what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, you know, not because of a documentary, because the documentary said this happened, and this happened. When you watch something like that, you do have to go and do another wee bit of research to find out whether it's true and, you know, stuff like that. Like, I mean, for instance, The Crown over here in the UK, you know, it's on Netflix the new, and it's all about the royal family. You know, some of the things that are in that and because it's a documentary series basically. Some of the events in that actually happened in real life, so you can actually go and look up the mining disaster, the house slide disaster, and things like that happened years and years ago. So you do your research. Maybe you get emotional as you're doing it, but I mean, it made me angry. If I can say that's an emotion, you know, maybe that was my emotion for when I watched Ma'am. It made me angry, but other than that, nope. And Cam has just made me even angrier, because they've done exactly what Ma'am done. They edited, they twisted, they put their own maybes, thoughts, and what ifs, you know. And that Candice Owens, she's just a disgrace. I mean, if she thought sitting in that room where Brendan was coerced was a good thing and made her look pretty, then she's fucking wrong and sadly mistaken, you know.
Correct. Yeah, good point. Thank you, Alice. Yes. Yeah, a lot of us have been in this case for a long period of time, and we've certainly gone way beyond looking at documentaries. We've left Ma'am 1 and 2 a long way behind. Interesting. I don't recall. What about yourself? Do you think facts? You've ignored all the facts and you're too emotional?
No, that's what bugs me. Well, one of the things that bugged me about Cam, is that their whole basis of their description of us is that we were just fooled by the documentary. They don't, even though they know that that we have done a lot of research, not me specifically, but a lot of people have, and we're basing how we feel on that. That all Ma'am did really was make me want to know more and look into it and find out for myself. So
Yes.
that's
Awesome.
how I feel.
Yep. Thank you so much. I don't recall. I appreciate that. And Neverly, what about yourself? Do facts matter? And did you get too emotional when you watched Ma'am?
Of course that facts matter. I mean, especially in the court system, we gotta talk about facts. Emotions do not play a part at all, actually. Maybe to the jurors, but you don't present emotions, you present facts. For me, Ma'am, I took it for what it was. It really got me curious of what's going on. And as I said it before, this case to me is not about Stephen per se, of who he is and what he's all about, or Brandon. It's about anybody in that position. And then after Ma'am, I got onto other cases that this happened. So it's obvious that it's not an isolated incident, that one or two people got convicted and that they're innocent. So with that being said, I think that those two ladies, Laura and Maura, had a job to do. They were still in school and they moved to Wisconsin and spent 10 years following this case. And thank God that they did. And thank God that Netflix picked it up and showed it, because here we are. Otherwise, it would have been just another case that was solved in Wisconsin this way or another. I can't talk about very many more cases in Wisconsin. I've learned about quite a few that actually went to a trial and that they actually did imprison a wrong person. But we have all heard about other cases that were just like kind of shoved under the rug with a police involvement or whatever, just unsolved crime. Who shot that guy in the head? What was his name? I already forgot. It was like a Chinese name of some sort. You know what I'm talking about? That he opened the door and
Korean.
Yeah, Korean. Yeah. And he got shot in the head. We don't know much about it. We don't know about Lori Depis. That was unsolved. What I'm trying to say, as far as Ma'am is concerned, is I think that those ladies wanted to present the legal justice system in Wisconsin, the wrongful conviction, and it tickled your intrigue, your interest. And a bunch of people, whether they sit on the guilty side, on the innocent side, or on the fence, it really doesn't matter. It got you going. It got you going. Now think about this. The documentary, they cannot possibly present everything in an hour, 10 or 20 hours. They really cannot. How many documentaries have we watched? And I've given this example before. Let's say about New York on some kind of other attractive destination. They're going to show you glitz and glamour. There's Fifth Avenue. There's, Central Park. There's this, there's that, Trump Tower. But they don't talk in that documentary about the flip side of that, about the crime, the homelessness, the drugs, the mob, or so and so forth.
The ugly side.
The ugly side, exactly. Right. So I don't fault Ma'am. The creative editing that happened, it didn't change the substance and the context of it, So that's all I got to say. Just like him, they were on a mission. They had a job to do, and this is what they chose to do it. So how could they fault making a murderer when they did exactly the same thing? Just like any other documentary, they all have a theme, a message that they want to make.
Correct. Yep.
And the bottom line for both of them, they're for-profit entities. This is not a charitable thing. This was a for-profit to make money thing. That can never be forgotten.
Exactly.
Correct. I mean, just quickly for myself, I'm from Australia, a long way away from, I didn't even know where Wisconsin was. I knew nothing about Stephen and Brendan. Making a Murderer really piqued my interest in terms of what was shown. When I first saw the documentary, the docuseries, I thought it was like actors. I had no idea that this was happening in real time and there were filmmakers there. To me, this has got to be one of the most powerful stories I've ever seen, because to me, it's more like not a documentary or a docuseries, it's an expose, and really opened my eyes to things like wrongful convictions, corruption, and also what happened to Stephen back in 1985. And through the good work that Jack 61 and the other panel members are doing with the depositions and all the readings that we've done, it's opened up so many different avenues and channels for me personally. Like I said, being from Australia, I'm not really sure with the American criminal justice system. I do realize that there are many problems. It's not like this in Australia. In Australia, it's not perfect, but there seems to be many deep-seated issues in the American criminal justice system. And for me, I did what everybody else here on the panel did. I went to YouTube, discovered Eric Cozy, checking convictions. I joined with Rubber Ducky, Purpleplex, all those guys, learned a real lot. And I realized that my knowledge was maybe 2%. And luckily, we were able to form Foul Play, and we got together a fantastic team of very enthusiastic and very passionate people. And we've really done a massive amount of presentations, also podcasts. We've done a hell of a lot of reading and research, and we're still learning. So for me, my interest in the case, from a selfish point of view, was that it was all about DNA forensics. And I remember when I first joined a couple of the YouTube groups, I was in a lot of demand because I remember me and Scooby, we were asked a lot of questions about how DNA works and what the DNA forensics was all about, and met some incredibly talented people, very passionate people. And guys, nearly 4 years later, here we are. So I'm still learning. And like I said, for me, the new state advocates who believe that Stephen and Brendan are guilty, I'd love to know what made them flip. I'd love to know what sort of made them change their mind, because I think we've read the same stuff, and we've done a lot of research and reading. And I think Whiskey for Breakfast said a very interesting question about whether we on the panel believe in the potential guilt of Stephen and Brendan. From all the, and I'll get everybody to talk if they want to, from my standpoint, I can't see Brendan at all with no connections at all to this crime from what I've done. And I've read all his questioning by Fassbender and Wiegert. We've read the trials. I've gone through the documents. I can't put the two together. I really can't. In regards to Stephen, whether he's guilty of having committed this murder, I tell you what, if he did it, the guy's a genius. When you consider that he is meant to have committed this murder in broad daylight in the afternoon, where anybody could have interrupted him, including his mother, who brings the mail, and somehow he was able to hide Teresa Horbach, hide the RAV4 without anybody noticing. And then the most ridiculous scenario of all, he invites his 16-year-old nephew to be a witness and participant in the crime. So my bottom line is this: for Brendan, no, I do not see him being involved at all, based on just his words. If Stephen had committed this murder, it's not how the state had portrayed it. There's no way. There's actually no physical forensic evidence to go along or support what the state stated in court, that Teresa Horbach was in Stephen's trailer and garage. there's very, very little support. So if he did commit this murder for whatever possessed him, it definitely was not in the manner portrayed by the state. But again,
Yeah.
you know, I'm keeping my mind open, like we all are. And like I said right at the beginning, and we've said it for years, we want the truth, good, bad, or otherwise. Jack 61.
Yeah, you know, another part of, you know, looking at this as long as I have, and we have to be careful about which rabbit holes we jump in, right? Because you mentioned it, Doc, and the reason I brought this up, right? So, you know, another really huge aspect of this whole story, and Cam did its best to downplay it, and that was the civil lawsuit. This was a big fucking deal. I don't care how much they try to downplay it.
They
This was
minimized it.
they did.
They minimized it, correct.
Anyone, and I said it the last time we talked about it, I hate to repeat it, but for anyone new, this was a big deal that it happened, you know, going through the, you know, the part, at least some of the discovery process up to a certain point. And then May of 2005, the depositions began. But then they found out that Gregory Allen's been implicated in a cold case in 1991. And I'm not going to go through all that. I've told that story a number of times. But this had to weigh on the state authorities' minds. I don't know what they did. I just, in my mind, it's hard for me not to make some kind of connection when this warrant got swore out for Gregory Allen in September of 2005 that they were sweating. There was no reason that this case hadn't been exposed to the media for what it was. And it wasn't. I've looked a number of times, and I can't find anything at all. Cold cases were reported all the time. So anyway, I'm not going to delve on that too much. So
No.
you have this connection, again, rabbit holes. You have this connection with the depositions to that 1985 case. Jump forward to 2004 and 5. You know, Avery didn't get satisfaction from Peg because she whitewashed everything. Everything was fucking great. That Manitowoc, these guys didn't do shit wrong. Well, of course they did. So he thought,
Communication.
yeah,
A lack of communication between departments. Yeah.
Correct.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, you know, I think for Stephen, regardless of his character and the shit he'd done in his past, I think the only way he felt like he could get any satisfaction with the lawsuit. But that put a target on Stephen. That put a target on Stephen. I think we can all agree with that. One way or the other. And however things worked out the way they did, September, Gregory Allen has this arrest warrant put on his back. 2 months later, basically 2 months later, 2.5, all this begins on October 31st when Teresa goes missing, November 3rd, or she gets reported November 3rd, November 5, the car gets found, and then blah, blah, all these ding, 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 right down the line. And Stephen is screwed. He is absolutely screwed. The lawsuit goes away. It's done. I don't care what happened in November. That lawsuit was over.
Correct.
Of course, it took him 3 months to get it right, everything wrapped up, and he settled for $400,000, but it was over. So, and I'm sure Glenn and Kelly told him there's nothing we can do. So anyway, these connections are really clear in my mind. How the mechanics worked, I don't know. I'm like Doc. I want everything on the table. Don't withhold anything from me. You might change my mind. But by withholding, you're making me ask, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you withholding information that you say convinces you that Stephen and Brendan did it, but you won't release it to the public? This has been going on, and it's really, really frustrating. I wish we had the money to hire a lawyer because I would have already done it.
100% correct. I mean, there were too many things happening all at the same time, and for the fact that Cam actually diluted the importance of the civil lawsuit, is so disingenuous. And you know, you think about it, right? How many other groups out there in the community have devoted so much time looking at the 1985 case? And isn't it amazing? Because Sean Reck even said it. because Brenda questioned us a lot. Remember, guys, on the 1985 case, and
Yep.
we're wondering, oh, how come none of that discussion actually made it to Cam? And he goes, oh, we gave Stephen that one. He was wrongfully convicted. We didn't want to talk about it. So none of our conversations about what happened to him in 1985, they left it out.
They did, and we said it before. We did 4 interviews, 20 to 25 hours of time, and we ended up with minutes, and that's fine. We weren't there for stardom. We were there to give our opinions of how we felt. Don't care about being, we don't want the bright lights. We want the facts of these cases exposed for what they are. But another part, and I'll shut up after this. Let somebody else talk. After getting as much documentation as we got, say by mid 2016, another real problem that reared its head was how do I say this? Investigative integrity. Investigative integrity. And in many of these events that occurred, it wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
Yes. Yep. 100%. And I think the way you said it, if everything came to light when it did regarding Gregory Allen, that would have been portrayed in the media. It would have given actually more strength and more sympathy towards Stephen Avery and his cause.
That's
and
right.
he would have got probably $10-15 million instead of, people sort of say, maybe between 5 and 8. Because remember, when Stephen was in prison, Gregory Allen was free to commit more of his carnage and, to commit more of rape, torture, all sorts of sort of stuff, all based on what Peg Lockenslagter said was bad communication. Bad communication, right? That's the way they portrayed it.
The guy's a monster. Gregory Allen is a monster.
Oh, correct. So I think, guys, we've talked a lot about our very first clip. So I don't think really it was based on emotions and us being manipulated. You can see here on the panel and also the fantastic guys in chat, you're all different. You're all different, right? And that's the strength. We're not an echo chamber. My God, we argue about all sorts of things all the time, right? And we don't do a closed podcast. We invite questions from chat. You guys come along, ask some tough questions. We have open mic. You can come along, say your things, be civil, boom. And that's the way we progress. Guys, are we happy to do clip number 2?
I'm good to go.
Yep. Guys, does anybody have any comments?
Yeah, we've got Random Pieces in chat asking a question. She says, weren't they watching Alan when Penny was attacked? Yes, they were watching Alan, and they got pulled away, air quotes, on an emergency or something like that.
Well,
and he was like
I want to clarify that they didn't set up like 24-hour surveillance on the guy. It like we kind of originally thought. The instructions were to everyone that was on road patrol, keep close tabs on his movement, so that as they were going throughout their shift, they would drive by and see where his car was. If they caught him, out whatever, they might follow him to where his destination was. But that particular day, you're right, they were the resources were called to I don't know what event. We've never been told that, so that's kind of how that went.
Correct. All right. Do we have any other additional questions?
No. Jane of Dane, hi Jane, is in chat. She says she's from Wisconsin. She says, here in Wisconsin, I was following the exoneration and then Teresa's disappearance in real time. It made no sense to me that Avery would have committed this crime. Then came the Karat's press conference.
Yeah.
I think that was true for a lot of locals, from what I've heard. That press conference really changed people's minds to believing that they were both guilty.
Correct. It was a game changer because remember, and we've done it, we've discussed it, and we'll move on to clip number 2. Stephen, right from the get-go, was talking to the media that basically, hey, look, I've been set up again. And so the only way really to shut up Stephen is to get him locked up and to do a damaging press conference like this. And you think about it, you're listening to this on the news, the story that Ken Kratz said would have horrified anyone. Anyone hearing that would have been horrified. And it'd be great if you listen to that press conference live, what your initial impressions are. If you can write it down in chat, that'd be awesome. But that would have been her. Yes.
Couple things really quick. Danny Millis says, does anyone know what Alan All did when he should have been locked up?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Just briefly, Danny, we have an extensive, and I do mean extensive, file on Gregory Allen. And if you looked at his rap sheet, it's pages and pages. And I dare say you could easily probably think in the terms of 500 to 800 pages of the various crimes and so forth that he did. It's extensive before he was ever really locked up in 1995 or 6 when he actually got caught assaulting that woman in Wisconsin and was sentenced to what was he sentenced to? 60 years, I think.
60. And he's never been charged for the attack on Penny Bernstein. Never been charged.
No, statute of limitations had run out, as I remember. Go ahead, Susan. I'm sorry.
Plus the fact that Gregory Allen moved around a lot.
Yes,
and more than likely got away with all kinds.
A lot.
Yeah, that was another part that Susan brought up. Sunshine Christina and I did a lot of extensive research on him. So did Seeking Truth, but we got information that showed that what he would do, he lived there in Manitowoc in that area, but what he would do, he would drive 3-4 hours away and set up shop in another little small town. And we don't know what he did because we don't have any reports, but his behavior didn't change. No way.
He took jobs in many other states. I mean,
he
was in Texas. He was in
Nebraska, Mississippi,
states. He was
Alabama,
all over the place. Yeah.
Florida, Georgia. I think he was in Iowa for a while. So for Gregory Allen, he played this game. So we don't really know what all he did. I suspect that there's probably bodies out there that belong to him that we will never know about that he did.
Correct. And isn't it interesting how Cam completely just whitewashed?
Oh, all of that? Totally.
Because it actually is a very embarrassing moment in history for Manitowoc. What Gregory Allen did while Stephen Avery was doing prison time, it's a stain on the police force, and they just
the county.
They just wanted to go away. The only way you can make that go away is if you turn the tide of sympathy from Stephen and against him, right? So that way, instead of showing in, like they said in clip number 1, why do you want to protect Stephen? What was the whole idea? Well, when you think about it, don't worry about Stephen, what they treated another human being and the manner in which they did it. Of course, you sort of go, my God, can law enforcement really do this to somebody? The answer is yes, they can. Yes, they can. It's very, very scary. All right. Guys, shall we move on to clip number 2?
Well, I was just going to ask, do we have any other questions before?
Any other questions?
Courtney Q asked, I thought there wasn't a statute of limitations in Wisconsin. Weren't they saying they can still go after Steve for Marie? This is in regards to Gregory Allen.
That's what they said, but as I understand Wisconsin law at the time, for Penny, the statute of limitations had run out.
And Travis to the rescue. Welcome, Travis. He says there is no statute of limitations on sexual assault in Wisconsin. Thank you, Travis.
I don't know why they didn't go after him.
It may have changed. It may be because he's serving Although, you know, he was up for
Yeah,
parole.
Parole. Yep.
He's been up for
several
parole more than
several
once.
times and been denied. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that statute has changed that, Travis. I know I read it. I can't say it was necessarily by any legal person, but I know I read that the statute had ran out is the reason they didn't charge him for Penny's assault.
Did they
Had to be
also
some.
charge Stephen with attempted murder of Penny?
Oh God, I can't remember. You remember the charging document, Doc? I don't remember.
I think it was
I do
back in
too.
1985. I think he was charged with attempted murder.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it was serious. Absolutely, very, very serious. Correct.
Yeah, because is that no why you got sentenced to the 30-odd year?
32. Yep. Correct.
You know, was because it was attempted murder. I think
Yep.
was one of the
Brutal.
thingies,
Yep.
the charges. Which is
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. I mean, he had what 14 to 16 witnesses and
16 alibi witnesses.
CCTV to show that he was nowhere near there at the time, you know, and he still got convicted. You know,
I wish we had the money to buy that entire case file because I think it'd be a
yeah.
fascinating read. But
It
they
would be
want $5,000. They want $5,000, and I'm not up for selling a kidney to get that. I'd like to have it, but that's a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
I was going to say the important thing about that case is you can actually see the genesis of where the corruption actually started.
That's right. That's
how
right.
it started, right? So we know that Stephen never committed this crime. So it'll be good as a student of learning about false convictions, how that can actually occur by looking at the trial. Because remember, who was it? Vogel got Penny and her husband to recreate the assault in court.
Yes.
Twice.
God.
Twice.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It just blows me away.
Yep. And she was asked, do you see your attacker in court today? Him, Stephen. So imagine how powerful that was to the jury going, oh my God, he committed this to this lady here. Boom, he's gone. And they convicted him.
I mean, in my opinion, Doc, though, she only picked Stephen out because she had Dvorak and everything like that in her ear for the minute that she got to that hospital. She gave the description and they're like, oh, that sounds like Stephen Avery. And then, pencil is drawing Stephen's sketch. And that woman could not even see out of her own bloody eyes, never mind anything else, of being through this huge trauma. But yet they're telling her that this is Stephen Avery. You know what I mean? So she knows that that's Stephen Avery sitting at that table. So she's going to go, yes, it's him.
Correct. But this is my issue with convicting a murderer. The deeper issues were never discussed, right, guys? The deeper issues that man brought up were completely bypassed. The documentary Convicting a Murderer spent 4 to 5 episodes completely dehumanizing Stephen. We could have done it in 30 minutes. Look, this is what he did. These are all the horrible crimes he committed. He went to prison. He needed to go to prison for this, this, and this. Done. Okay.
Throw in a whole bunch of hearsay is what they did.
There was a huge amount of hearsay. And also, when I saw Earl appear, when I saw Candy appear, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, you're kidding, right? So Convicting a Murderer gave Earl a free pass, right? And he goes, oh, look, I went to therapy. I'm much better now. Yeah, but you still committed all those horrible crimes, right? Stephen Avery never had that chance to go to therapy, to get intervention, to get help. He was thrown to the wolves. He went from a hostile environment in prison to a hostile environment on the Avery salvage yard. And there were a lot of fun and games going on in that place. Trust me. Right, guys? Right, guys?
Right.
Especially with these brothers. Especially with these brothers. And it's not us hearsay. It's in the CASO and DCI reports and in the phone calls. They're facts.
I have a question.
Yes, Neverly.
Regarding Earl, was he ever prosecuted for his crimes?
Who?
Stephen?
Earl.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I believe so. Jack
Is he
61,
a
you know more?
registered sex offender?
I don't
With-
know that they had that when. I don't
he
know.
got in some trouble.
Should be.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did get in some trouble. I can't. I'd have to
I
look
don't
it up.
think he ever did jail time though that I recall.
I think he did. I think he did do. I think he did do
jail
some.
time.
Yeah, he did some jail
Yeah.
time, but it wasn't like prison. Yeah, I think it was like local county jail for X amount of days, and he had to do the therapy and maybe some community service or something.
Yes.
He didn't go to prison like Stephen, but he
Like
did do some
Kratz?
jail time.
He had
Well,
therapy?
Yeah, and one of the 2013 incidents that happened, or whenever that was back then, I know that Candy had came and made all these claims and said. Then she said she was going to bring all these photos and various things and show them, and she never did. It never happened. So that was interesting. But he did do some jail time on some of the trouble he got in. And I said it the last time. He was also charged. I'm actually looking for the document where you guys are talking, and I'll show it if I can find it. It may be on my external, but Earl got into some abuse charges in August of 2018, and
Wow.
again, that had to be around the time that Cam started filming. So,
Yeah.
so he got better. Is that right? So is that what he's saying? He got better. He's all good now. But yet, all the way up until 2018, we got problems. Anyway, I'll see if I can find it. Let me know when you're ready to play the clip too, Doc. I got it
I
ready.
think we're ready now, but it goes to highlight the hypocrisy, and especially when you think about it, a brother pointing a finger at another brother, especially when that brother hasn't got a clean sheet themselves, it didn't look really good. And although Earl said that he's much better and he went to therapy, his brother Stephen never got that chance. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So to me, it's very tenuous when someone like Convicting a Murderer says, listen to us, we've got the real deal, don't listen to Ma'am, it's just a waste of time and you are being manipulated, right? So they're playing on their emotion, according to what the producers of Cam are saying. Oh, they're just playing on your emotions in Ma'am. You got manipulated, right? But if you reckon that's good, just look at clip number 2. Whenever you're ready, Jack 61. We need to make a new T-shirt and a mug. Just wait for this one. Just wait for this one.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, here we go. Clip 2. Here we go.
Number 2.
Monster. I didn't want to believe that.
Well, people don't see things logically because their emotion is excited, and when you get into the brain structures, it actually freezes the logical part when the emotional stuff is excited. It's actually called an amygdala hijack.
It's an actual phenomenon out there that people do. Certain people don't want the facts to interfere with or dissuade their belief on what happened.
It's not really a function of someone's IQ, what their job is, their career is, their family structure, whether they use substances. It's not a function of any of that. It's largely driven by the person's history, and their belief is that this person is innocent. So then they just cherry pick the data to come up with things that fit with their percept or their notion of innocence.
I refuse to admit or even acknowledge the fact that Avery could be guilty.
That's called confirmation bias. The more you hit them with the facts that may go counter to that belief system, they can become more defensive, and it just solidifies that belief even more.
God, that sounds like the guilters to me.
Yeah, we've had our amygdala obligata.
Amygdala.
Now,
Obligata.
before we comment, before we comment, right? Can we have the next slide? Because I never even knew that this existed, right? So of course I did some research, right, about having your amygdala hijacked. And so I've got a couple of slides that I want to go through before we comment. So absolutely everyone knows what having your amygdala hijacked, right? So I'll just read it out, right? So it basically goes like this. The amygdala perceives a threat and triggers a fight or flight response before the cortical centers can fully access the situation, essentially hijacking the rational response process. This can lead to impulsive reactions to perceive threats. So essentially, the amygdala is a part of your brain, the ancient part of your brain. I think physiologists refer to it as the reptilian part of your brain. So if you have a look at that little diagram on the left-hand side, normally when your amygdala is working fine, your higher cortex, your higher brain functions are working fine, you have a low emotional response, right? But according to that, I think it was a psychologist, when you watch a program like Making a Murderer, your emotions are so high, so distorted, right, that you ignore facts, you cherry pick, you undergo confirmational bias, and your amygdala is so triggered that your higher brain functions are overridden. So hence you are acting on emotions. So in other words, when you're watching Making a Murderer, your amygdala was hijacked. In other words, it's not your fault, it's your amygdala that's taken over, right? Now, what I can't believe is that how on God's earth can you hijack your amygdala for 10 hours straight, right? So basically what Cam was saying, hey, Making a Murderer was so powerful that you cherry picked, you had confirmational bias. In other words, you rejected all facts that didn't pertain to your hypothesis and theory, and your poor amygdala was hijacked. Now, wait for it. Jack 61, can we have the look at the next slide, please? Because this, no joke, this is important. So who can actually see the symptoms on the screen, on the panel? Who can see it? Who would like to read it out?
I'll read it, Doc.
Now, before you do, guys in chat, say yes if Making a Murderer has given you these symptoms. Let's go for it, Susan.
Can I just read out Jane of Dane's comment first, and then you can compare it to that? Because she says, Kratz hijacked amygdalas around the state with that scathing press conference.
Yes.
Ma'am allowed us to think deeply again.
Correct.
So.
Correct. Excellent
I
point.
think she's absolutely, yeah.
Excellent point.
Okay. So the symptoms, an amygdala hijack occurs as part of the fight or flight response being triggered, meaning that similar physical symptoms of this response will occur during a hijack. Rapid heart rate, clammy skin, dilated pupils to improve vision for faster responses, sweating, goosebumps on the skin, increased blood sugar for immediate energy. Oh my
God. Is that it?
Can I just pop in here for a second?
Of course. Is your amygdala hijacked?
My irritation is been hijacked. This is the most stupid fucking thing I've ever heard. This is ridiculous. And it's not even insulting because it's so ridiculous. I'm not even insulted by something like that. It is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's just stupid. What a bunch of fucking idiots.
I agree.
God damn.
Well, we were all overpowered. Making a Murderer so overpowered us that all our amygdalas have been hijacked.
Good Lord.
Does anyone want to have any comments? Is your amygdala being hijacked as watching Ma'am? Jack 61. Jack 61.
Well, let's. I think we should let Susan read the symptoms, and then we can discuss.
I thought I did.
She did.
Did you read all of them?
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah.
All that I can see on there.
You've had your amygdala hijacked. Jack 61.
Increased blood sugar. What's the last one?
There's two more. There's two more.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't see them.
Two more. Jack 61 is to just scroll up.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, contracted blood vessels allow the body to redirect blood to major muscle groups. Airways expand to allow in and use more oxygen.
Oh my God, this is just
So
outrageous.
this is a fight or flight response,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
Survival response.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, watching Ma'am made me go into my survival mode. Oh my God.
I think.
Please.
I think
Yeah.
that personally, just trying to think back, it's been a long time, just thinking about the first time I really watched Ma'am. I think the press conference did trigger
Yes.
some shit in me, knowing how wrong it was for
Yeah.
him to do it. I don't think it was fight or
Yeah.
flight. I was thinking, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you
Yeah.
doing this? Because prosecutors do not do this kind of thing. This was almost a year before Stephen's trial and over a year before Brendan's trial. You just don't do it. And I knew it was wrong. And so it did ramp me up. Len Kaczynski, another one that ramped me up, knowing what he did. Because, the reporter in Ma'am, they showed the interview. He hadn't even talked to Brendan yet. And I'm thinking, why are you talking about your client in such a way and you haven't even spoken to him? What are you doing?
Correct.
So I think there was some aspects, but no, my amygdala was not hijacked. No.
Okay.
I missed who said this in Cam. I'm sorry, I missed who said this.
Well, the two slides that we just went through.
Psychologist.
Okay.
That's my research, but they got a psychologist, the guy with the bold top hair. And I'm not saying anything about both because I haven't got any hair myself. But he smirked. He smirked as well.
He did.
You want to play that clip again, Jack 61?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
He actually smirks when he said it's called an amygdala hijack. And I thought, So now we have a disorder. Let's play it again, Jack 61.
I didn't want to believe that.
Well, people don't see things logically because their emotion is excited, and when you get into the brain structures, it actually freezes the logical part when the emotional stuff is excited. It's actually called an amygdala hijack.
It's an actual phenomenon out there that people do. Certain people don't want the facts to interfere with or dissuade their belief on what happened.
It's not really a function of someone's IQ, what their job is or career is, their family structure, whether they use substances. It's not a function of any of that. It's largely driven by the person's history, and their belief is that this person is innocent. So that
I want to pause it right here. I want to pause it right here because immediately they go to the people at the Mammothon.
Yes, correct.
So the implication is you people your amygdala has been hijacked and you're just kind of crazy. Yeah, you're running on emotion, and a lot of them they were, but it was not because they had been hijacked. It's because they felt like the criminal justice system had been screwed. Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah, I want to know what facts we're ignoring.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you have to be able to accept and just believe whatever these officers and various state officials said. They didn't back it up with anything, but they've said it, so it must be true.
They call them facts. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
And I don't. I'm looking at you, Susan.
Yeah.
I don't.
Correct. And Travis makes a very, very good point. And you see, that's why, and Jack 61, you mentioned it as well, because we've heard all sorts of theories, debates, 1 RAV, 2 RAV, 3 RAVs, this happened. That's why it's important to back up your arguments with facts, right? I know Candace keeps on talking about Occam's razor and things like that, right? So having a civil debate, looking at the facts, what seems to be reasonable, what seems to be very unreasonable, that's very, very important, because all of us, we have a form of bias, right? We look at certain things, right? Oh, no, the boys are innocent. They can't be guilty, right? But if you state that, what are your reasons for it? And it's very interesting hearing arguments. And I'll promise, Susan, we won't talk about the canines, but it's very easy. It's amazing when you hear people cherry pick the dogs and the dog tracks, what they show, what they don't show. So anything that enhances your position, you put out there. Oh, yeah, I believe the dog is correct. Anything that sort of detracts from your argument or position, oh, no, the dog made a mistake. It was an error by the dog. And that is the scary bit, because if you look at the forensic evidence, right, the CSI team went in there into Stephen's trailer. They tore the place apart. They couldn't find any forensic evidence. So what does Mark Wiegert say on the stand? They had 5 days to clean up. Instead of him saying, you know, it's probably very likely that Teresa Halbach was never in that room. She was never pinned up in the bed. No, his bias is Teresa Halbach has to be in that bed, chained up to the bed. Otherwise, our case all of a sudden is starting to fall apart and become very, very shaky.
And it was just accepted as fact, and he didn't show a single thing to back that up. Nothing.
No, correct. And you see that there's a danger. This sort of like cherry picking confirmational bias occurs on both sides.
It does.
On both sides, correct.
It does. But, you know, again, it goes back to, again, the integrity of an investigation. And every piece of, this is just an opinion, every piece of real key evidence that was used against Stephen has real problems. Like real problems that, you know, in today's world, I really doubt that it would make it, because it would be so highly scrutinized. Yes, it would be so. Yeah, it would be so highly scrutinized. And that's an advent of social media. You know, we get told all the time, well, you know, you guys weren't there. You don't know. You're not law enforcement. You're right. I'm not, and I'm not scientifically trained, but I can read and I can understand. I'm a relatively, not bragging, I'm a relatively intelligent guy that can read and understand plain language. I can see other cases. So this guy, I have to agree with Susan and Ron. This guy's, it's just so dumb.
Correct.
It just is.
But it's that overarching blanket statement that really is disingenuous. How they could bring in a psychologist and then lump us all in the one silo and say, right, these guys aren't capable of independent thought. Their amygdalas have been hijacked. They've got this herd mentality. They cherry pick, confirmational bias, except, of course, the law enforcement officers have none of that, right? Because remember when Strang and Buting were questioning the law enforcement officers, and remember what Kratz said? Kratz said, oh, no, this was a funnel approach, not a tunnel approach. And we're all going, you're kidding, right? You guys focused immediately on Stephen Avery. And what did Jacob say? Do we have Avery in custody yet? Right?
That was within
an hour and 10 minutes of finding the RAF.
Correct. Yes, Never.
Didn't Cam say that law enforcement is actually protecting Stephen Avery? They didn't want to be Stephen Avery. So they treated the whole crime scene with kid gloves. They tiptoed around it. Yeah, they were protecting. Guys, you learned a fact. They protected Stephen Avery.
Yep. And it's interesting because Tom Fassbender, he goes, well, we started at Stephen's trailer because we were getting all this intelligence information coming in, right? So therefore he goes, oh, that was a logical place to start. Wait a minute. So the guy that's got the $36 million civil suit, the guy that's allowed law enforcement officers to come into his property, talk to them, allow the media to come in, now all of a sudden is your number one suspect? Yeah.
Yeah. Work that. Have the state advocates work that one out, and they can't. They'll deflect it and change the subject.
No, and you see what is amazing, right? Now we've done the research, right? You look at the criminal record of Earl, you look at the criminal record of Chuck, you would have arrested all three of them, correct? Am I correct or not correct?
Absolutely.
You would have arrested all three, right? I'm
He
questioning.
certainly would have investigated them deeper.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What? And I can't believe and I've spoken to Jack 61 about this. I reckon that Skorlinski was this close of arresting Chuck.
There's no doubt, Doc. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Remember when he said, "Oh, I've been hearing rumors that either one or both of you guys were involved in this," and then what does he mention? Laurie Dupree. Sorry if I got it wrong. Is it Lauren Dupree?
Yeah.
Deppies.
Deppies.
Laurie Deppies.
Laurie Depp. Yep. What the hell is Skorlinski telling Chuck in a murder investigation of Teresa Horbach about Deppies?
Because he was a suspect. And she's, as far as I know, she's never been found.
Right. And all of a sudden, what do we have in the Manitowoc County gravel pit? Bones, human remains. Are the quarries dumping grounds of bodies?
Well, it would appear that way. We got it in Redon's quarry. We got it at the Manitowoc County gravel pit. We got something going on at Mitchell's Materials.
Correct.
There's some
Correct.
shows how it's getting scattered.
Correct.
There have been dead people found out there.
Sukawati?
Prior.
What was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it
Yeah.
Sukawati?
Yeah, Sukawati.
In Redon's pit. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. Correct. Yeah, it's very, very frightening. And somebody made it a comment in chat. That's why you do a proper victimology, right? Who was a danger to Teresa Horbach? Was Stephen Avery the only person that was dangerous to Teresa Horbach? Nope.
I don't think so.
No, definitely not.
Those closest to her? Yeah.
Correct. 100%. Ex-boyfriend, roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because of a lack of proper victimology, we're not going to find out, right? All right. Shall we do the next clip, unless anyone wants to talk about their amygdalas?
Going on a T-shirt and a coffee mug. We got to get that in the store.
Yep. I'm going to definitely buy a shirt and a mug with have you had your amygdala hijacked?
That's right.
I mean, it's bloody nonsense. It's absolute fucking shite what they're saying. You know what I mean? I did not have one of these symptoms. I certainly wasn't sitting sweating watching a documentary. You know what I mean? I've sweated more watching my Ghost Whisperers than I ever did watching that. You know what I mean? So it is just utter nonsense. And the fact that they can get these people to come on a show like that and say something stupid like that, and then have Fact Bender coming in and saying, oh yeah, it's just, you know, it's just something that happens. Fuck off.
Yep. Which is amazing, because I remember during Brendan's trial when they had the psychologist, they were basically poking holes in his arguments. Who's this guy about? People don't falsely confess. And what did Tom Fallon say? The innocent people don't people don't falsely give false confessions.
That's right. You know, and I want to bring up one more thing, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention it. Talking about the amygdala, this whole phenomenon.
Yep.
There was in comparison. Now, I'm talking about in comparison to those that didn't react this way, but there were a handful of people that clearly did. The guy that got arrested, I think he went to the Avery's Then there was another one later on that went to Kratz's office. And then Coburn received a number of real threats, and probably other officers too. And clearly those people were affected in an adverse way, and they took action. And that's on them, It's one thing to get upset and pissed off about, a press conference or whatever other act. But to take that next step, that is completely on them. That's my opinion.
What about that one that got arrested for trespassing on the quarry?
Well, that's well, that's the one that's in a number of our clips here.
Correct. Shall we continue on the next clip, guys?
I'm good. I'm ready to go. Clip
Awesome.
3.
Keep your questions coming.
Please
let's
do.
go for it.
Clip 3.
A lot of sense to see a lot of the truth they're still doing, the amount of research they're doing and trying to find the one piece of evidence that frees Stephen Avery.
It really makes you realize that there is this spiritual void that's missing inside of these people. They're looking.
I have to pause it here.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Sorry, I'm really sorry for my language. It's been a rough couple days.
No, not at all.
Well, you haven't seen this because you stopped watching.
I stopped watching. No, oh my God.
Yep.
She's looking crazy, you guys.
We have a
She's
spiritual
looking in
void.
a mirror. She's looking in a mirror and talking to herself.
Oh my gosh.
We have a void in our hearts. We just have to have something to latch on
Spiritual
to.
void.
Yeah.
Spiritual void. Who the fuck is she to tell me about my spirit? She's crazy. Jesus. God.
Yeah, I got to play that again, and we'll move on.
Let's play it again.
Oh my God.
It really makes you realize that there is this spiritual void that's missing inside of these people. They're looking to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves.
They've built a community. They've built friendships. They've built their own belief system.
And so did you.
God.
And so did you. Super
Especially
fickle.
her.
She was one of the she was one of the first ones that started open records requesting documents. One of the first ones. I can prove
And
it.
what is wrong with building a community?
Well,
like-minded people.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
But
Well,
then I
that's
think
because
this is
we're
where they're
all
going.
spiritually void of anything logical or commonsensical.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna start calling us cult members or what, but I think that's the goal here, right?
So they have.
Yes.
Sean called us a cult.
Yeah.
Yes.
You did.
Yeah. Gloria said, that's really offensive. Who the hell is she to say that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is Candace Owens to call anybody that or to tell us that we have a spiritual fucking void? Come on.
Extremely offensive.
Well, considering what the brothers, these Tate brothers, is that right, Susan, that she supported?
Oh, yes.
These female human traffickers over in
and rapists. Yeah.
Yep, Romania
Horrible,
or somewhere.
horrible people. Yeah.
Terrible people.
And she believes the Central Park Five are guilty.
Yeah.
She said it on the podcast.
Jesus.
She's just one of those people that she's looking for reaction.
Yes.
She wants to make noise. And,
Yes.
And so she'll say anything.
Agreed.
She has absolutely no morals. She has nothing. She's just
No filter.
She's just
TJ on
out to
chat
make
has got a
money.
good comment. He says she's the next Nancy Disgrace trying to be Oprah.
That's a good comparison. It really is.
But everything they say about truthers applies to any freaking group. Of course, you're going to hang out with, that's like your vibe attracts your tribe. Exactly.
Correct. Yep.
And as Susan said, what's so wrong with that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So it's not as profound as she thinks she is.
Well, she's got her couple of million followers that believe everything she utters out of her mouth. They are so driven. It's crazy. Anything she says is the truth. And it's not. It's just absolutely not. All right. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Jack Random PC says, I'm in a cult. Well, it's the nicest cult to not try and control my life. Thanks, members.
Yeah, she doesn't like Australia either. Candace Owens didn't like Australia because she thinks we're all imprisoned or under the thumb or some type of oppressive government. And yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Jesus. You
Yeah.
guys,
Not allowed to
needs
speak our own minds.
Correct.
Yeah.
she needs an intervention or some shit because she's just not making any sense.
And
It's
I know
hypocritical. That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
hypocritical because
Very.
everything they said about us, we can turn around and say about them and so
Correct.
forth. So it's neither here nor there.
correct. And if I could just say very quickly, we've got a lot of Australians in the chat. Just say yes or no. Do you think Australia is a beautiful place? And I'll tell you what, I've lived here all my life, and I really wouldn't want to go anywhere else. To travel, yes, one day, but Australia is a beautiful place it's very, very multicultural, a lot of different people from all over the world, and we get along very well. It's not perfect, but Australia is a beautiful place. So don't be scared. If you want to come to Australia, if you visit Adelaide, I'll buy you a pizza and a beer. How about that?
The only thing about Australia that frightens me are all of your slithering critters.
Oh, God, yeah. In
Australia,
everything wants to eat you or kill you.
yeah.
Or has a plan to do so.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there, Rhonda. I was just about to say exactly the same. I would love to come and visit your beautiful country, Doc, because it is gorgeous with the scenery and everything like that I've seen. But if I was to come and visit you, I would not leave your front door outside your front door because of your creepy crawlies, your spiders, your snakes, and God knows what else you've got over there. I'm an arachnophobic big time. So your spiders would kill me. Literally.
And don't think about running into the water because they got the ringworm octopus, and that thing will kill you in about 12 seconds.
I'm ready for the next
Move along.
Let's move along. Let's continue, guys.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna finish this one.
And they need to keep this alive because it becomes such a large part of their life.
I've made some absolutely fantastic friends, people that I've met throughout the world.
These truthers, a lot of them have spent years now defending him.
So
They've been going to these rallies. They've been sending him gifts and money. And to come to the realization that you've been doing that for the benefit of someone who may have abused women and children, I imagine that's just too hard to accept. They can't make that conversion anymore.
They are innocent. And I will support them to the end.
Stephen Avery, in this really bizarre way, became a faith.
It's almost become this cult-like worship of this man.
There we go. There we go.
There it is.
Oh my God.
Game of faith. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Let's sum it up.
I do not worship Stephen Avery.
No.
So if you believe in the innocence of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, you've had your amygdala hijacked.
Yep.
You're part of a cult. You're part of a faith, and your whole life is empty, and you want to basically go with other people that are similar to you, which means the only thing that I'm waiting for is that we all have a mental illness. That's what I'm waiting for. We have a medical classification, a mental illness, because we support individuals who we think have been wrongfully incarcerated. So we're part of a cult community.
Well, they had to smear us, Doc. That we have to be painted all with this same brush because we feel like that people that were really in charge of the criminal justice system, we feel that they compromised it greatly to do what they did. That's my feeling. That's my opinion. I'm not part of a cult. We all disagree from time to time. We discuss, we debate. We don't agree. When we don't agree, we just say okay, and we move on to the next subject when we know how we all feel about it. It's not an anger. It's not an echo chamber. We have just all kinds of opinions and discussions. It's just absolutely crazy.
Correct. So, because a lot of us ask the deeper questions. They don't like that. And look, put it this way. We're part of a team. We're part of a team. We do our podcast. We get questions. We don't hide behind a wall.
No.
People can see us. We're visible. We're contactable. You come to our Discord channel, have a chat, come to our podcast, right? So we're open. How in the hell can we be regarded as a cult if we're visible in the community?
Doors open.
And we don't hide behind the wall.
That's right.
And you can leave anytime you want.
Yes.
That's right. There are no dues. We don't have to pay into some kind of fund.
It is not the Hotel California, exactly.
That's right. Exactly.
Right.
Of course, our West Coast homie girls would think of that immediately. It's in my mind.
Of course.
Hey, we're like-minded people. We're in a special cult.
Oh, no. Anthony Hill goes, I listen to Black Sabbath backwards. Oh, no, backward masking. Correct.
Oh, no.
God.
I played Tubular Bells.
Anthony.
I played Tubular Bells the other day. Oh, no.
Yep.
According to the news.
Sorry, Susan. Random Pieces is asking, who is our cult leader?
Yeah, I'm going to say, according to the new state advocates, it's Dr. Silkman.
Yeah.
He's the cult leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hail Dr. Silkman.
We are an
Purple
echo
juice.
chamber.
Yeah, exactly. Served over there.
Not at all.
Grab a chair.
And
Travis, wait, we can leave.
Hey, Becca.
Yes, Travis, you can leave if you wish.
Is Becca in the chat? Hey, Becca.
Ah, awesome.
Hi,
Yep,
Becca.
great.
Hi, Becca.
Welcome, Becca. Welcome.
Love you.
And that's why doing these podcasts is so great, because people come on, people ask us hard questions. We're accessible. We don't work behind the closed wall, and I think that openness is fantastic. Are we always perfect? Are we always right? No, we're not. We do make mistakes, but we admit when we make mistakes.
I mean, our library is open. Our Discord is public. It's not a private Discord.
Yep,
it's public.
No,
that's a huge disconnect from the other side, the state advocates, right?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Yeah, everybody's going on about the cult thing. It's so funny, and I mean that's what I like as well. Though the people that we get in chat, you know, I mean, that come to their lives, that they're there almost every week. You know, we've got the regulars that are there every weekend, whether it's a Reading with the Crew or Ken Kratz or this one or the K9 Nosies. We've always got the regulars in there. You know, and I don't think these people would stick around if they thought for 1 second that we were bullshitting them in any way, you know, basically. I mean, our numbers are just going up and up and up, and we thank everyone for that. Like we always do, every podcast, we thank our chatters. We shout out their names without them having to pay anything, because I know some creators out there only shout out the names of people that pay something. You know, I've seen it happening myself, you know.
Yeah.
But when we do our chats, and maybe some don't like it and some do, but if you've been with us long enough, they know right at the beginning of our chats, we say hello to the panel, everybody on panel, and then we go through the chat of the people that we can see. And sometimes there's maybe 20, 30 people in there, you know. So
Correct.
what I think what we are doing is awesome, and I don't think half these people, and I mean time and time again, we've got between 60 and 80 people in chat now, which is fabulous, you know. And
fabulous.
these people would not be here with us, doing this with us, if they thought that we were bullshitting them in any way whatsoever, you know. And T1 says, we don't pay dues. What the fuck? Somebody owes me money.
You gotta watch that T1. You gotta watch that T1. Right.
And this is what I mean by the camaraderie and the banter and things like that, you know. It breaks it all up that we can actually have a giggle with the people in chat and things like that, so that we're not constantly talking about all this bad shit that's going on round about us, left, right, and centre. You know, we're a community that can have a laugh and a chat. And yeah, we don't always agree. You know, we don't, and that's all right. You know, you can change your mind and leave. That's all right. You know what I mean? But just don't tar everybody with the same brush just because we believe in somebody's innocence. You know?
The issue.
Hey, don't you be giving out our secrets that we don't agree.
Correct. All right, guys, do we have any comments? Just Rhonda, do you have any comments? And Susan?
Oh, no, I forgot to mute. Sorry. I'm
Okay.
still flabbergasted. I'm just like,
I'm good.
Mind blown.
Any questions from the chat before we play clip number 4?
Yep.
I think it's mostly just
no real
comments.
question. Yeah,
Yes.
Just comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go for the next clip, guys.
All right, here we go. This is clip 4.
Awesome.
A very big presence in the truther community. She was very involved, very much believed in Stephen and Brendan's innocence.
I have to pause this here, and I have to reiterate what I've already said before.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, I have been involved. Mouthy, and then, I became more visible in a little bit 2017. But regardless, I think I may have heard this lady's name one time. And all that time until, well, there's another part of Kristen that, most people don't know about. And she was heavily involved in talking about the German, and that's Siegfried. Damn it, Siegfried von whatever the hell his name was, the German guy though.
German guy.
Yeah. There's a lot of information that most people have not seen that she was heavily involved in talking about this guy and to people surrounding him. It's pretty extensive, actually. So anyway. I
think, I remember her name from Facebook. I think the family group or something. I haven't been on there in years, but I think that's where she mainly resided as far as I know.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think I ever saw on Reddit. I don't think I ever saw on Twitter, not that in my memory anyway. Nothing that really stands out, and I would remember a standout. So anyway. All right, here we go.
I can argue the crap out of anything. I can argue paint off a house. I respect guilt or opinions, but I don't understand how anybody can look at this case at all and think this is a cut and dry case at all.
We met with her and talked to her, went through a lot of different things, shared different things that we had found, talked, debated back and forth. After that meeting, she reached out to the director and requested to meet with us again. She had more questions. So what brings you back?
Can you pause for a second?
During the interview, that it wasn't really.
I don't think she wanted to reach out and ask more questions. I think she wanted to be big. She wanted to climb a ladder. She wanted to be a star. She was grabbing for fame, attention.
Are you saying? Are you saying the ego got in the way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really got that impression from her interview with Smokescreen.
Her journey, you mean?
Yeah, I got that impression.
She wanted people to understand her journey. Like, really, how many people wanted to hear about her journey? Not me.
Yeah, and she was name dropping, and
totally.
Yeah, I think she's.
And she started ever since I was a little girl.
And then she did got the check or whatever on Twitter, or verified, or on Facebook.
Oh, of course she did.
That kind of thing, and yeah, I think that has a lot to do with her motives.
Well, and she came out and said, because she had a son that passed away, and she made a comment. I'm not sure if it's in one of these clips or not, but she made this kind of statement in Cam that she was forced down this path. She was basically forced to make this decision.
Oh,
she's a grown woman with children. So I want to know who forced her. I thought that statement deserves comment. Again, I'm not sure if we got it in one of these clips, but it's there. It's in episode 10. She did say it. I'm thinking to myself, are you...
Courtney Q, she was not in Foul Play ever.
No.
Sorry. Never.
No, not that I'm ever aware of. No. Doc?
No, I was going to say it's this reminds me very, very similar to an emotional rescue, where there are actually organizations that you can hire to actually kidnap people that are stuck in a real religious cult to de-engineer their brain. And this reminds me very much of someone who is a supporter, and she says, I've now got more questions to ask. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, what has Brenda got that you don't know about, right? And if you notice that when Brenda is interviewing the two ladies, she's got her laptop or her notes. These two ladies have got nothing. So all the power is on. Remember what she did to us with all the books, with all the documents? And we're there. We're thinking, oh my God, where'd you get all that stuff from? The same thing happened to these two. Interesting.
Are you saying, Doc, that Brenda hijacked her amygdala?
No. She didn't hide. She rescued.
She rescued it.
Down. She rescued her amygdala.
Yeah, it's an amygdala. It was a say the whole term of what amygdala is.
Amygdala rescue.
Oblongata.
No. Yeah, no. I meant yeah. What? Say it again, Doc. The full thing.
Amygdala.
Oblongata.
Yeah, that one.
Oblongata.
Primitive.
Wow. It's like oblong.
Oblong. Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
She's
ready?
rescuing amygdala. Yes, correct.
All right, here we go.
Talking about. So this is a chunk of your guys' documentary already?
There we go.
They didn't know anything at the time.
Because they were still not standing my ground, but representing a group of people who believe that they're innocent and trying to make some points on things, even though my mind was, swaying. I feel like you're opening up a whole shithole of more information that I have.
And this is another problem for me. I apologize again for pausing the clip. I know we need to get through it. But here's the problem. Virtually everything that I'm guessing that Brenda showed her that she somehow didn't know, that information had been out since 2018, maybe even 2017, but definitely about 2018, 2019. All these documents were public. Anyone could read them. Anyone could request any of the incidents about Stephen. All you got to do is write an open records request and send it to whichever agency, Manitowoc, mainly.
She wasn't allowed.
Yeah, you're right.
Do that.
Which again,
and
it shows. I mean, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it's very curious who this other girl is with her. They don't even really address that.
Well, apparently
is she
she's not
is she another flipper?
I think so.
I think she did, but
I think so too. But yeah. What this just shows me that Christine wanted the limelight. It's very obvious to me that she's very excited to be in a TV show. Or in a documentary.
And to take over. Yeah.
Susan, read what Courtney put on the screen, or what Rhonda's got there on the bottom.
She said unreleased photos of the burn pit changed her mind. Well, yeah, I think she said it was the bones in the wires. She said, what was the term she used? She saw I'll just use my own term, a shit ton of photos of wires, of bones intermingled in the wires. And that's what.
Don't get Duke started.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's really what did it for.
His amygdala will get hijacked.
Were they the shit ton of pictures? Were they presented in court?
Not that I'm aware of.
I have never seen a shit ton of pictures.
I've never seen a shit ton of
bones in the wires.
I've seen one.
But if they were not presented during the trial, isn't that a problem?
Yeah.
Potentially.
Duke's got a hold of it.
Oh no. Where is due? Oh no, here we go. Here we go. Correct. Now, Ken Kratz has got the very same photograph of what looks like an amorphous fragment in the tire wire, and I put it up on X, and I said, "What does this look like to you guys?" I got 20,000 different responses. Not one of them said that's human bone, right?
No.
So this is the problem. When you put a photograph and you don't show the scale, the actual size of the material, and you don't have an analysis of what that material is, you can navigate any type of response you want. Oh yeah, he said it was bone. And I thought to myself, I've never seen a bone fragment look like that. And case in point, and I think Duke picked it up too, there was a tag number showing a whole box of all this white material, right? And it says on the cover, right, Jaxie's one, it says bone fragments isolated from burn pit.
Yes.
And you look at them, you go, oh my God, they look like bone fragments. They were white, they were open, and guess what they were? Burnt insulation, every one of them.
Yep.
Right? Burnt insulation. And Pevito even said, when I was there with my team, we saw all this white material around the burn pit, and it looked exactly like bone. He goes, we decided to collect it just in case we missed one bone fragment. And guess what? They never found one bone fragment outside of the ash pile. And it was
turned out to be insulation. Yeah.
Burnt insulation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unreal.
I mean, that's exactly right, Doc. These so-called photographs that they're supposed to have, if they were as strong enough to change their mind, they would have been used in court. Kratz and that would have used anything and everything to prove that Teresa was burnt in that burn pit. Bone, everything like that. But the fact is they did not. And that is the big Q over everything. You know what I mean? The big question mark over everything. If these photos existed, they would have been used in court, because that would have cemented the state's case that Stephen did this, because her burnt phones pictures of her burnt phones was in the burn pit. Her pictures of her bones were in the burn pit. Pictures of somebody actually picking them up and taking a photograph and everything like that. They all would have been used in court.
Correct.
And they were not.
Kratz knew he couldn't. He knew he couldn't say it that they're actually bone, and so he didn't use them.
Exactly, Jack. Exactly. So to me, they're bullshit. You know what I mean? It's absolute bullshit.
Susan, read out what Duke put up.
I sure would like to see her shit ton of photos.
Mm-hmm.
Duke says, I met with a forensic anthropologist and discussed those pictures recently. They laughed when I asked if that was bone.
There you go.
Correct. And that's why I've been putting up all these images on X. And basically, and Duke hopefully will talk about this tomorrow, how you have such incredible diversification from one combustion event, right? So you have one fire, one human being being incinerated, so to speak, in the burn pit, yet you have mass variability whereby you've got this crumbly type of structure that they're calling bones, and yet you've got muscle tissue that's not, it's charred, but not evaporated, right? And you have calcined bones, you've got bones that appear to be unburnt, and Duke will talk about it, but it tends to suggest that you had burning events away from the burn pit. Now, if those pictures were so damning, they would have been used in court from day one.
Without doubt.
Day one. Erdl would have come along with his photographer, Zhang, or there's Zhang and Kate, said, photograph all of this right now. They never did. Because when they looked at the burn pit, they thought, shit, something's not right here. And he said the crime scene looked altered, obviously had been altered, which meant that what he remembered it looking was not like what he saw on November the 8th. And he says, I'm not having any part of this. So now you've got all these photographs appearing on November the 10th. On November the 10th, Cam showed pictures I've never seen before. That's Pevito and his team doing what they should have done on November the 8th.
Yep.
So
They started. They started, and it got dark. They put up lights. They had, I got into somewhat of an argument with somebody on Facebook. Well, they didn't have lights. Well, lights were available.
Yes, they were.
Because
in fact, they were available one day prior, Jack 61.
That's right. Because they had Shimmick starting on the 5th, 6th, start bringing generators and lights and all that shit out because they were already putting up security guards in various places and they wanted it lit.
Yes, correct. 100% correct. So now, we are to now believe that Cam has got this aha revelation moment. And I can't believe that Christine now is going, oh, I've got doubt. I've got this. What have you got? And now she's converted to the other side. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell did Brenda show you that convinced you? And notice
that wasn't shown at court trial.
Correct. And notice what Brenda was trying to do to us by convincing us how much of a bad character Stephen was. Because remember, at all the police reports, oh, did you know he did this? He did this. He did this. And we go, yes. And he deserved to go to jail. He deserved prison time.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. I'll continue. Here we go. I backed it up just a little bit.
I feel like you're opening up a whole shithole of more information that I have to dig through now. I thought I would just discuss a few things, move on with my life, and go back to living a normal life like a normal person.
It's the first time that I have to openly concede that I may be wrong.
I don't have time for this. And I'm quite honestly disappointed that I am put in that position, given all of the time I've put into this. So
we've been duped.
we haven't been duped, but we were definitely manipulated.
Oh my God.
That's I've
How
got no words for that.
self-centered can one be? Look what she said. I'm so mad because I spent so much, like, nobody made you do anything, girlfriend.
No.
It wasn't about you. They didn't do it to you.
They made a decision. They chose to watch. They chose to at least dive into some of the information, but so much more was out there. That's on them if they didn't keep digging. That's on them.
Right. So I want to know, and I want to go around the panel, and I want to go in chat. Is it Christine? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yes.
What information did she get that made her become a state advocate? Jack 61. What do you think it could have been?
Well, allegedly there were these photos of the burn pit. I'm guessing taken on the 10th by Pevito because they didn't take anything on the 8th, as far as we know. Not seen anything that somehow has convinced her that this insulation that was burnt and in these tower wires was bone. But that's not proven anywhere. Nowhere at all. But now she's just accepted Brenda's word for it.
Correct.
So how suggestible is Christine without going and doing her own research?
So you know what worries me? Who got manipulated?
Exactly.
Who actually had their amygdala hijacked.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And did you notice though, when Brenda was questioning us and Ricky, how we didn't have our amygdalas hijacked?
No.
They did, and they didn't like it because remember, guys, we always had a counter argument and response. They did not like that at all.
Especially Rick. Oh my God.
No, correct. Okay, so Jack 61, you think photographs maybe?
That's the only thing I can think of is she's seen photographs that aren't publicly available for some reason that Brenda was given or somehow got her hands on that we've never seen, which I think it's just crap, man. It's total. Be transparent if you're going to show it to. Well, I want to show some people some stuff, but I'm not going to show everyone. Really?
Correct. Yep.
So who's
No,
in, so who's in the cult? Who has to close the system? It sure as hell ain't us.
no.
And Brenda even said during that on her interview on the smokescreen interview, she's willing to share her documentation. Yet I know she was asked about one thing, and she says, "No, I know people with have an ulterior motive. Now I don't share with people that have ulterior motives. Well, what the hell's that?"
Correct. Thank you, Jack 61. Just Rhonda, what do you reckon? What made her become a state advocate?
Like I've already said, she is looking for attention. She wants to be on a documentary. She wants to put her name out there, and she wants to drop all these names about who she's been involved with and who she had contact with, and she's just an attention seeking. I can't say the next word that I would normally
Don't say it. Don't say it.
My West Coast homie knows my mind.
Hey, cult-like thinking.
Cult-like thinking.
It was exactly. She doesn't. I don't think she knows what she thinks or believes. She's a flipper and she wants attention, and this is the way she thinks she can get it, by calling the rest of us all a bunch of manipulated people with no spiritual souls, with hijacked I can't even say them anymore. She just wants attention. She's just looking for attention. Amygdalas, yeah.
Interesting.
And she doesn't really believe what she's saying. I don't think she knows what she was saying to begin with when she was a truther. I think she was on a bandwagon then, and I think she's jumping on the next bandwagon now with Cam.
Yep. Interesting. Very interesting. What about you, Susan? What do you think caused her to become a state advocate?
Well, I agree with Rhonda on a lot of that. And I'll also point out that she is the one that contacted Smokescreen to be interviewed.
Okay.
They didn't reach out to her.
That's
And
interesting.
she was also talking about Cam 2, hoping there was going to be a Cam 2.
Right.
I believe she talked about that. I know Brenda did as well, but I'm pretty sure Christine did too. But yeah, I think it's an attention grab. When she was first interviewed, she was probably excited about that. She's going to be in a documentary, and how can I get more time in it? And I don't know. She said she saw these photos a shit ton, whatever the word was she used. And they really convinced her, that Stephen did it right there in the burn pit. But,
Which is remarkable, because I know that Duke will talk about this. Sorry, Susan, for butting in. But they actually left the tire wire. They didn't collect it until the 10th. They left it there.
Right.
So
That's right.
If you've got all these incriminating bone fragments, don't you think you want to secure the evidence and not leave it out in the... Okay, they put a tarp, but that's the most bizarre thing you ever want to do, right? If you go, oh my God, these potentially could be human cremains, right?
Yeah.
Because remember what Sturtevant said. He goes, I saw a pile of bones, including cranial bone fragments, in the middle of the ash pile. Pile. Sorry, Susan.
even Ertl, who is, what is his title?
He's a forensic scientist.
Forensic scientist.
Yes, he does DNA stuff.
Even he was fooled by this burn insulation. He thought it looked very much like bone. So I'm thinking these photos are probably, these wires are full of this burnt insulation that looks very much like bone. And that could have fooled her. It's like, oh my God, look at all the, and she said it was so intertwined in there, and there's just no way somebody could just drop that in there, bones in there, and have it look like that. Well, yeah, I'm I'm guessing that that's probably exactly what it is, especially since they didn't use it in court. And there's,
Yep.
you know, and we don't have those photos either.
No, well, we got very few of the ones that Pevito took, and I remember you talking about some of them, and he'll probably talk about it tomorrow if we talk about item BZ, which is a very important piece of forensic evidence. But remember, in Mikkel's quarry, they called the medical examiner, Michael Glazer, because somebody found what they believed to be a charred foot.
Yeah, and it was, what was it? It was
burnt insulation.
Burnt insulation, exactly.
insulation.
I'd
Right?
like to read. Hi, say hello to Mark Hodnott. He's in chat
Oh,
here.
welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Thank you,
He
Mark.
says, Christine says nothing that is truly evidentiary or substantiated. When questioned about her views, she ultimately goes silent.
Yes. Yes.
What the hell is that?
Well, that's because a lot of the new state advocates are sitting on very shaky ground. Because if you then question them, you know, okay, where's your hard forensic evidence of you now believing in their guilt? And when I hear people talk about Ida Meffel, I just shake my head. When people talk about Sarah Fausk and her hypothesis about the ashes, I just go, you got to be joking. So what we're going to do is we're not going to comment on that. We're going to get a professional dog handler to come in and say, okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're not professional dog handlers, but we're going to get one. We're going to get one in. Right? So, yeah.
Rhonda, can you read out Crockett's statement there?
Yes, Crockett asks, Christine made claims of being KZ's payroll. Do you think this is true?
No
Since
way in
I'm
hell.
unmuted for already. Fuck no.
No, not a chance in hell.
I don't remember her saying she was paid. She did say she talked to KZ on the phone and drank a bottle of wine while she was doing it.
Yeah, maybe she didn't say she was paid, but I don't think she was even.
I don't think she said that she got paid, but I do remember clearly saying that she got so drunk that her husband was not accustomed to her getting that drunk.
Oh
I
my
do
God.
remember that part. Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah,
Why would you call KZ and sit there and get smackered talking about this case?
Let's be logical. I know we're not able to do that because we have no amygdalas and we have no souls with the spirit, but let's try to think logically. Would KZ actually, I mean, maybe she would, perhaps she would do it, but I cannot in my wildest imagination think that KZ read anything that Christine may have sent to her and took it so seriously that she would accept a phone call from Christine and have a conversation about it long enough that Christine could drink a bottle of wine and get fucking drunk. Come on.
Typically how that worked, if they got a tip, as I understand it, now I'm not in contact with KZ either, and I won't claim to be, but as I understand it, if they got a tip, that information got turned over to her investigator. They started the process, and if there was something there, they went and talked to whoever had information. Not Kathleen. No.
Travis in chat says Mark is the cult leader. He has the original Amygdala Hijack.
There you go, Mark. It's on you, man. Sorry. But you know, it's two Aussies regardless. It's Doc and Mark. So
correct. Well, look, guys. What do you reckon? We do a couple of more clips?
Sure. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can move into clip
Hey,
5.
you didn't ask me what I thought about all this.
Sorry, Emily. I can't see your. Yeah. Keep going.
What kind of leader are you?
Who?
Yeah, you. What kind of cult leader are you then? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna file a letter of complaint. No, what I wanted to say about Christine, I don't know what she saw, man. I think that she may have thought, I think that she's actually confused, because at the end of her 2-hour rant on Smokescreen, she still has questions about certain things. And didn't she say something that the law enforcement may have helped plan something or speed up the case or, solidify the case? And I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, how could you still think they're guilty? So I think she's confused.
Yeah.
I really do think she's confused. And yes, I could totally see her in Cam 2.0, as well as our new state advocates
Yes.
joining them in that adventure.
Yes, correct. That
Actually, it's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will be.
It will be battle of the minds. Yes.
It'll be potentially very interesting. Correct. All right, guys, shall we do the next clip?
Yep, let's do clip 5.
Okay, awesome.
All right, here we go.
I encountered numerous items that I suspected were bone fragmentation.
Thursday, as I've mentioned before, they reprocessed that scene out there, but also of interest is that Rodney and another officer went to the sheriff's department and reprocessed that tarp.
And then a couple other items that were a darkened mass, roughly the size, let's say, like a golf ball, maybe a little bit larger, that I felt was charred muscle tissue.
One of the bones that were recovered was a leg bone. On this leg bone was some tissue that was able to be tested.
They were able to get a partial DNA that was enough to use in court, and that DNA came back to Teresa.
Oh boy, yep. There's a lot of wrong stuff there for a start, but I think we'll probably discuss more about it tomorrow. I will say when Jude comes on. But if you actually have a look at the diagram that they show of the skeleton, they're not really sure whether they're the long bones of the arms or the long bones of the legs. And Dr. Eisenberg had a lot of trouble distinguishing where those bone fragments actually had come from. And the other big issue is notice how they showed that bone, the bone that Dr. Eisenberg said appeared to be unburnt or not burnt as much as the other bones. And Kratz said that they took tissue from that bone. No, if you're going to sample a piece of tissue for genomic DNA extraction, you get it from that 2.5-inch piece of muscle tissue, right, guys? You don't try and scrape off material from the bone. Would you guys agree?
Yes, absolutely,
Right?
100% agree. Yep.
Yeah.
And Pevito said that he was able to squish it. Okay, he was able to squish it. It was the size of a golf ball. That is where you isolate your genomic DNA from. That's where you isolate your mitochondrial DNA. You don't try and scrape that material from the bone, because that could be ash, it could be dirt, it could be anything, right? You isolate it from muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is a rich source of mitochondria. It's a rich source of genomic DNA. So Kratz gave the impression that Culhane took tissue from that bone. I don't think so. Jack 61.
And
Well,
another
I
thing is, go ahead, Jack.
I just think that I'm not a scientist, but I would think that having this squishy piece of muscle tissue is a more viable chance of getting something than scraping something from a bone. I'm not even a scientist.
Correct. And Scooby made the point that bone is rich in mitochondrial DNA. And the other important thing about the use of bone is that bone tends to be resistant to fire. So that's why they try and isolate mitochondrial DNA from bone, because if the bone if you can protect the inside of the bone from the damage of the fire itself, then it's potentially a rich source of mitochondrial DNA. And the good thing about mitochondrial DNA is that we have multiple copies of it, lots of copies, whereas our genomic DNA is very large, very big, and very easy to break, very susceptible to damage by heat. Correct. Yep. Thank you, Scooby. Any other comments, guys?
Neverly had a comment. I interrupted her.
Neverly.
It was along the lines of what you were saying. Wouldn't it be just logical to examine the crap out of that item BZ, then
Correct.
claim that you wouldn't touch the bones because they're too brittle to put them under the microscope?
That's correct.
So
In
you
fact,
can't have it both ways.
that was one of the concerns of Dr. Eisenberg. Dr. Eisenberg didn't want any of the bones touched or processed. So because there were multiple pieces of muscle tissue, that's where you isolate your genomic DNA from. And today, there are much more sensitive techniques. I cannot believe that no one has tried to re-extract that DNA from that muscle tissue using the more sensitive procedures of today. Correct. But I think tomorrow, Duke will talk more about item BZ and the sifting and the burn pit rather than try and cram it in now. Yep.
Yeah, Doc. I going through the clips last night. I figured that with Duke not being able to come on, that probably clip 5 and clip 6 we would use again for tomorrow in the open mic.
Definitely. So shall we move ahead, guys, and do clip 6? Because we've only got like 3 or 4 more and we're done.
Yep.
Travis has a question real quick here. He says, in any of the episodes so far, have any of these detectives or informed hosts commented about the findings of KZ experts?
No.
Kathleen Zellner is seems to be blacklisted. I don't want to talk about her or her experts. Nothing. What they've cleverly done, though, Travis, is that they've only talked about MAM 1. They haven't talked about MAM 2.
No.
So that way they could mainly avoid talking about Kathleen Zellner. But if they're doing Cam 2, it'll be on for young and old. If they try and do Cam 2, oh my God.
Oh my God.
It'll be on like a bonfire, literally. Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Travis.
Clip number 6. Yep. Clip number 6.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
When they ask you to look on the big screen and what is contained in that box there in front of you, is this the piece of charred remains that you examined?
Yes, it is.
Technically, the remains were never properly identified scientifically. That really bothers me too. That is a very big, important detail.
One of the main reasons that some supporters believe that Teresa Halbach might still be alive is because Sherry Culhane was only able to obtain a partial DNA profile match to Teresa.
This was obviously a sample that had been subjected to intense heat, and so there was not enough DNA at those positions to develop a type.
Dr. Silkman, what are your thoughts on what Sammy's saying?
Now, for me, those cremains are from Teresa Halbach. And I'll tell you the evidence for why. What Sherry Culhane was able to do was isolate genomic DNA from the muscle tissue. However, because the DNA was so degraded, only 7 out of 15 loci came up. My PhD was in human molecular genetics. It's all about statistics. So those 7 loci meant that it was a 1 in a billion chance it wasn't Teresa Halbach. That means in 2005, 7 people on this planet had that same 7 out of 15 profile. 7.
Surprisingly, though, even during the Halbach investigation, there were local people who believed that the cremains were not Teresa's. But unlike Making a Murderer viewers, the public learned that because the crime lab's results weren't able to provide a full DNA profile, the sheriff had requested that the FBI do additional testing, which they did.
The FBI has mitochondrial DNA testing that they are able to do. And so we are going to be submitting some of the bones, the remains, to the FBI for their analysis.
Mitochondria only come from the mother. They did a mitochondrial DNA analysis of Karen Halbach and of the muscle tissue. They can't exclude Teresa Halbach.
They finally got something right. They finally got something
Hey,
right.
yeah, it sounds professional, Dr. Silkman, like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, again, not tooting my horn, but you see how devious these guys were. That they were expecting all of us to say, "Oh no, Teresa Halbach's alive. Teresa Halbach's in Canada. That can't be her remains. That can't be this. That can't be that." But I was able to look at all the data, the molecular data, the information on the cremains, and report it exactly as I said it back then, more than 3 years ago, right? They did the genomic DNA analysis. There's a 1 in a billion chance that it's not Teresa Halbach. Based on the world's population back in 2005, 7 people had exactly that profile. That's why the FBI goes, no, we don't want any of this partial profile bullshit. We want 20 different loci to make sure that the person you've identified is unique. Now, what they should have done is, look, I got a 7 out of 15 profile. That's the best I can do. Why don't I send some muscle tissue to somebody else, another laboratory, and get them to try it, see if I can get a full profile, right? Because they got a 7 out of 15 match. If they got an 8 or 9 match, then the probability that it's not her is much, much higher. You get it? So the more alleles you get, the more loci you look at, the better the chance to say in court, that's Teresa Halbach, right? And that's why people have criticized, look, they only got a partial profile. You don't know it's Teresa Halbach, blah, blah, blah. But I said to them, listen, they did mitochondrial DNA analysis. The mother, the child muscle tissue, you can't exclude the child muscle tissue as being Teresa Halbach. And I discovered, because I read the FBI report, Karen Halbach has got heteroplasmy. She's got 2 different pools of mitochondria, right? No one explained that. I found it. And Teresa had 1 variant that the mother had. So the mother at 1 position in the mitochondrial DNA had a C or a T. She had 2 different pools of mitochondria. And Teresa Halbach had 1 of them, 1 of the variants. Perfect. There's no doubt.
That pretty much seals the deal for me.
Oh, no, there's no doubt. When you look at the DNA, when you look at the mitochondria, when you look at the forensic evidence in terms of the cremains, the bones, the morphology, poor Teresa is deceased. She ain't in Canada. She ain't in South America. She's dead. Murdered, no doubt. But I didn't rely on 1 piece of evidence. I relied on everything in total. Correct.
And that's what has to be done. I mean, to me, you got to include it all. You can't just leave. You can't, as you said before, you can't cherry pick. Put it all on the table and let us look at it.
Correct. See, now, today, let me tell you right now, what they would do is they will sequence the entire mitochondria, the whole lot, the entire genome. They'll do it. They'll sequence the entire genome and look at every base. You get 100% match. And that's why they asked Karen Halbach, have you got any other missing children who are deceased? And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? They asked her that. I said, do you have any other children that are missing? Because Karen Halbach, she's got heteroplasmy, 2 pools of mitochondria in her cells. And Teresa Halbach has got 1 of them. So all your mitochondria in your body came from your mum, not from your dad, from your mother. It's maternally derived. I think I shut everybody up.
No, you explained it. You explain. I mean, I think as you always do. I mean, for me, you explained it in a way that's understandable. It's not really, you could get really scientific with it and make it difficult, but you don't do that. You break it down, and I think that's really important for people.
Yeah, and that's why I think Brenda wasn't prepared for that answer. She was probably thinking, oh yeah, it's a conspiracy, she could be in Canada. No. We have all read the forensic evidence. We've all had this argument. And Sammy, to her credit, was correct. They hadn't done a proper genomic profile. They didn't get a 15 out of 15 match. But I was able to have a look at everything in total.
Yeah.
And say, right, guys, when you look at this, that's Teresa Halbach.
Yeah.
100%. Whereas now, the state had given away all the bones. Well, all the human bones, you can't retest unless, and you could probably talk about it, they've actually kept item BZ in the fridge. They still got it.
Yeah.
They still got it.
So it could be potentially re-extracted and tested.
Correct. And, and I understand, Scooby, you want to be, if I'm a parent, I want to be 100% sure.
You damn right.
100% sure. I don't want to give a parent a bone from an animal. I want to say, these are the cremains of your daughter.
I couldn't live with myself if I didn't think it. I could not. No way.
And Kathleen Zellner wanted to test the bones to say, this is Karen. This is Teresa Halbach. This is your daughter. 100% guarantee.
Well,
right?
it brings up this other question. I actually got questioned about it. It was a YouTube comment about the pap smear and the importance of that. And what's the big deal? And it's like, well, okay, if you have to look at what Culhane put in her crime lab report on November 9th. She had the results of the Pepsi can, the blood. Yeah, she had the results of that, but she didn't have anything to compare it to.
She had no idea who it was.
No, she had no idea who it was. So how was Kraut able to 100% tell Karen, according to her testimony?
Couldn't.
But he did, according to her. Yeah.
Unless they found evidence that
Yep.
it was Teresa Halbach that was deceased.
That's right.
Without a doubt, and they deep-sixed it. They kept it quiet because it was too shocking and I don't want to divert time.
Right.
Neverly made a very, very good point a couple of weeks ago. The torso is missing.
That's right.
If you look at the spinal column, it's gone. Top to bottom, it's gone. But now it's even more frightening because on cam, they've now admitted that the bones in the Manitowoc County gravel pit are human.
Yep.
Are human.
Yep.
Here's the issue. How do you have part of Teresa's hip in Stephen's burn pit, the other part of her hip, what? Half a mile, three-quarters of a mile?
No, I think it's at least a mile away.
Away in the Manitowoc County gravel pit. How do you explain how part of your hip is in two different geographical locations?
I think that's why they didn't want. I think that's why they didn't want to talk about it, Doc. Because
didn't want to
now
talk about it.
that would divert. That would force Crest to divert over to outside of the AV salvage yard, and that opens up a whole other can of worms. Yeah, that's me. Though.
That's 100% correct. So therefore, this notion that Stephen cremated Teresa Halbach in his burn pit and then decided to leave some cremains behind, put some in his sister's burn barrel, do 3 freaking trips to the Manitowoc County gravel pit in 3 separate bone piles.
It's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
You know it's ridiculous, right? You know it's ridiculous.
I mean, if he was going to make any kind of to do that, number one, why wouldn't he take everything out of that burn pit?
He's not going to leave a little pile right in the middle of the burn pit.
Of course not.
Right in the middle, correct. So now it's embarrassing because they've now admitted that there are 3 bone piles, at least 3 bone piles in the Manitowoc County gravel pit. They're human bones, including the very same hip fragment that Dr. Eisenberg said, suspect possible human. And to quote what Neverly said, all Dr. Eisenberg had to do, now wait for it, was place the bone under a microscope.
That's right.
That's it.
Yep.
She didn't do it.
No.
Yep. Anyway, we'll
Pratt
talk more.
Didn't want her to do it.
No, that's correct. You're correct, Susan. You're correct.
He didn't want to go there. 20 seconds.
Hell no.
Correct. Because now, if you admit that the bones are there, that means they can go both ways. Correct? They can
That's
go
right.
from one location to Stephen's burn pit, right? And the bizarre thing is this, Cuss Road, nobody talks about Cuss Road. Not even Cam mentioned Cuss Road.
The one time tracking Loof. That's
And the
it.
dog. Yep, that's it. And 60% of her skeleton is missing. 60 torso.
Yep.
That's in my opinion, that's what they found. The torso.
Do you know why? Do you know why I think there's only so many bones in the burn pit?
Please tell us.
That's all they had found by the 8th. They hadn't found those other piles yet.
No, they didn't. You're correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
They found it on the 10th. And I think Duke will talk more about it.
Well, the 9th too, according to Sipple. But again, he didn't photograph what he found. He just talked on the phone about it. We don't have any photographs from Sipple in situ at all.
No.
And they didn't call a coroner.
No. Correct. So you're correct, Susan. They used what they had.
Yep.
They used what they had. And I honestly believe Loof tracked the path of the movement of forensic evidence. Because remember, Loof totally changed behavior from the 7th to the 8th.
He did.
All of a sudden, the berm came into play on the 8th.
Yep.
Interesting.
There's a question in chat from Danny Malice. Is there a story explaining when Steve moved the bones all over the place and when things were burnt in the burn barrels?
No. The burn barrel confused them because they're going, oh my God, what the hell? I think they found, now Duke will talk about more, but from my understanding, they found 4 bone fragments, including one with multiple cuts. And I'll put it up on X for people to have a look at. It's a saw. Someone was using a saw to cut the body up. There's no question about that. You can see the indentation of the saw marks.
And hesitation cuts.
Hesitation cuts, which means someone started, then stopped, went somewhere else and started. So
yeah,
it's a total nightmare, right? So because Brendan said, they asked Brendan, they said, oh, what'd your uncle do? Oh, he collected some of the bones in a bucket and he buried them near his burn pit. And then he was going to throw some in the water. He was going to throw some in redonce. And they're going, oh, okay. So now the state are clever. They're going, Kathleen Zellner, you can't prove that your client didn't get the cremains and went to the Manitowoc County gravel pit and dumped them there himself, including his sister's burn barrel. So that's the argument now. They're now saying the bones are human. We agree. They're likely Teresa's. They've never tested them, but Stephen did it.
Right.
How do you
That's
know
exactly
now?
right.
Shaking my head.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head too because, again, we know that Stephen's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he's not stupid. So if he actually could have did this incineration in his burn pit, which I do not believe at all, let's just say hypothetically it happened, and he's going to move this stuff out of his burn pit, why leave anything? Just scoop it all up, even if he has to take a couple more trips. Get rid of it.
Correct.
It's so dumb.
The burn pit itself is about 4 feet by 5 feet. Might have taken him 10 minutes to maybe get 2 or 3 buckets done.
Yep.
All the ash gone.
That's right.
And look what they actually found, that little box. That's all the bones that were left in there.
Correct.
It's a tiny little box of bones.
Correct. Yep, 100% correct. So, it's I think tomorrow we'll wait till tomorrow with Duke with his presentation. So, guys, shall we do a couple of more?
Yeah, let's knock these last 3 out.
Yeah.
If everybody's okay, and then that way we can get out of here before too long.
Yeah. Is everybody happy if we just finish all the clips?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, master.
All right. Here we go. Clip 7.
Yep, beautiful.
The filmmakers requested to
film Stephen Avery at the jail. The
Oh, boy.
sheriff said, no, you're not allowed to bring a camera in. So Buting snuck a video camera in and filmed Stephen for the filmmakers. We know that simply because you see it in episode 8 of Making Murder Season 1.
You snuck a camera.
That's completely false.
Their camera, let me finish, please.
No.
Their camera.
He was told not to do that. They saw him doing it, and they actually told him not to record anymore. As a matter of fact, he denied that he ever did that.
Do you still want to sit here and tell us that you weren't embedded with them? You weren't actively involved in making this movie? You're the cameraman, Jerry.
This is ridiculous.
During the course of the trial, I had a lot of respect for Strang and Buting.
Uh-oh, this is a trigger for you, Jack61. Do you have any comments?
I got a lot of damn comments. Number one, he didn't smuggle anything.
No.
If they didn't search his briefcase, that's on them. Number two, well, I've actually got several things, and I haven't found it yet. Pete Bates, their investigator, had went to talk to Stephen at some point during the course of the investigation in 2006. So he goes to the jail, and they said, "Well, you're gonna have to talk to him on the phone through glass." And he said, "Well, never mind. I'm investigator. This is private. I'm not talking to him through a phone." So whoever it was, the bailiff goes and rummages around, comes back and says, "Well, okay, we're going to let you talk to him, but you know everything here is recorded, right? You understand everything here is recorded." This guy told Pete that.
Correct.
And Baez told this to Buting and Strang. And to me, there's got to be more to that. But then let's move on past it. And we see the surveillance footage, and it is surveillance. I don't care what anybody says. And you can call me whatever you want, some kind of nut job or whatever. I fully believe there was audio on that camera that was in that privacy room. There's no other reason to have that camera in there. Not one. According to John Burns, that ran that jail from going back to 2003, I think, he was the administrator of the jail, and he testified under oath in the pretrial there are no electronic devices in those rooms, and that was not true at all. So he either perjured himself or he didn't know. Go ahead, Doc.
But here's the ultimate irony, right? The only reason why they knew that he had a camera with him is because they had a camera behind Buting.
That's right.
Right? So
that's right.
We know you had a camera. Well, how'd you know that? Oh, we had a secret camera ourselves in the room. Now you meant to have like client, lawyer, attorney privilege, right?
That's right.
You can't have a freaking camera right behind your shoulder. That breaches confidentiality, right? So in a way, Kratz got caught in a rock and a hard place. So he had to. So notice what he said. Oh, you're in cahoots with the filmmakers, because Kratz was paranoid about the filmmakers, that they were part of the defense strategy. They're working for the defense.
Yeah, and that came up through. I think we played that phone call in maybe episode 8 that Laura and Laura were going to talk to someone. And whatever they found, they were going to turn over to Buting and Strang.
Yep.
So they tried to make this connection that the filmmakers were working for the defense, and that was complete bullshit. And he knew it, but he tried to sue them and seize all their footage,
seize their stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. 100% great. Yeah, crazy.
One last thing before I let anybody talk. I'm trying to think of everything that was in that clip. I think the bottom line for me is, though, having this camera in that room, in that privacy room, to me, that breaches about 1 million things for me personally. I've had people argue with me and say, oh, well, it was just monitoring. Well, I know that they had bailiffs outside the door. There's 2 doors in that room. There's one to the right of that camera footage, that surveillance footage. There's a door over there. And then, of course, we can see the other door as well. And I know from the testimony, according to the testimony, I should say, there were at least 1 or 2 bailiffs outside those doors. So and I don't believe this monitoring bullshit. That means somebody is watching a camera somewhere. This is recorded. Monitoring is just looking, and there's nothing recorded or captured. Surveillance is captured and recorded, and I still believe there's audio. That's all I got.
Isn't that interesting? Because remember, they were always monitoring his jail calls, Jodi's jail calls, the family
Every
calls.
one of them.
They were all being
and visits. That's right.
visits. Correct. Susan.
Well, I don't understand what the harm would have been to allow him to film Stephen right then. You know, they allowed Stephen to do all these interviews with the press and everything.
Three interviews. November, December 2005.
So what the hell? Why not allow that camera in there?
I think it's because Stephen could have said messages to the filmmakers that they could then use in a documentary. And that's what Kratz was really upset about, that basically that the filmmakers were working for the defense, and Kratz didn't like that at all. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. All right.
Gloria in chat was saying that she doesn't know how Jerry can keep his cool when it comes to Kratz. Well, I did put it in chat, but it is so hilarious. I mean, when I read it in Illusion of Justice, I was in stitches and so wished I was a fly on the wall, because apparently Jerry nearly punched Kratz in the judge's chambers at one point because of what he said, and Dean had to stop him. And I was like, I would have loved to have seen a fly on that wall to see what that argument was, you know, for Jerry to have went to that level that he was ready to actually hit him, you know. I don't think it would take much for anybody to want to do that to Kratz, right enough, but you know.
But Alice, Kratz wanted to punch Buting when Buting wanted to ask questions about Teresa's private life, right?
Yeah.
And Kratz was very, very upset and wanted to punch Buting. He even said that in his own book. Yeah, he was really pissed off because Buting was asking, personal questions about Teresa's personal life because victimology.
Well, here we
it.
come again, and I'm going to repeat it. I do believe that they did do the victimology in Teresa, which is like investigation 101. But then whatever they found, for some reason, they chose to put it under the rug and not talk about it and whitewash her.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, yes.
Yep, I agree. But then again, remember, they did give a free pass to Ryan Hilligus and Scott Blowdorn. So what type of victimology were they doing? Yeah, it didn't make any sense. It's like saying Stephen going, yeah, Teresa did come here, but I saw her leave. Do you mind if I organize some search parties? I can organize some search parties and we'll try and find her. Would the police allow that? No, no. But Ryan Hilligus and Scott Blowdorn, no problems.
Yeah.
No problems.
Jamie in chat's got a question. He says, out of curiosity, if anyone knows if the Guilters ever had any actual members with any kind of science, biology, law enforcement, or forensic background in their groups. Don't know.
I don't know of any. I don't know of any.
Puzzles was a lawyer.
Well,
He's a lawyer, right?
Well, he says he is of some type. I don't think it was criminal law, but yeah. Yep. But not scientific.
Jamie's a cop, right?
Jamie is a police officer.
He's a police officer, correct?
Well, from Canada.
From Canada.
The rules are different there.
Yep. All right, guys, shall we do the last couple of clips?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
All right, clip 8.
that they became enthralled with this story from watching Making a Murderer, because I always felt, even back then, that this is the craziest story. It has too many twists and turns, and I understand why people are so obsessed with it. But I think that you can't just let one source color your thinking.
I guess what I would like people to know is don't believe what you see on the screen. Research it. Regardless of which side you fall on, you have to admit there was manipulation that took place. You can still believe that Avery's innocent, but you have to acknowledge things that were done in that film to push you to that direction.
We stand by our process. We're proud of what we did. We believe, we achieved the goals we set out to achieve.
One of the things that I can't stop thinking about is the collective mindset of the documentary makers. You have two women, and they had access to all of the historical information pertaining to Stephen Avery. They knew for a fact that he had tortured an animal, that he had conducted burglaries in his past. They knew for a fact that he had chased his cousin off of the road with a gun held up to her and served prison for that. And yet, as they were in this courthouse following this trial, they walked away from all of this thinking, how can we cheapen his past crimes so that we can make it plausible to viewers of our documentary that this is an innocent man?
Well, how did they know? How does she know what they had access to?
Yeah.
She just makes a broad statement and doesn't back any of it up. That's a pretty big statement, saying that they had all access to all this information. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
They didn't back what little bit of this series I watched. They didn't back anything up that they claimed. Nothing.
No.
Nothing. Everything they said, we believe, we think, it appears. That's the kind of validation that they gave their so-called reasonings behind believing that Stephen and Brendan are guilty. And I'm sorry, if you're not going to show me some documentation, some legal documents proving that they're guilty, then I can't believe or listen to anything you're saying. I can't take any of it seriously.
Right.
Correct.
And for them to say, sorry, Doc, for them to say, you can't watch something and let it change, cloud your mind, or whatever the words was that Rich used, and decide, from watching this that they're innocent. You can't do that. Well, what the hell is it that they are expecting people to do by watching Cam? That's exactly what they're trying to do. The difference is they bring nothing to prove what they're trying to say.
No. It's an empty suit.
Correct. But to me, it smacks of jealousy. Pettiness, and just envy, hatred, all the wrong. And that gentleman said, don't listen, make up your own mind and do your own research, and don't listen to anything that a documentary does. And then you flip it on its head and goes, well, what have you done in 10 episodes to make us want to listen to what you guys have just put out? Right. What? Nothing.
Nothing. It's hearsay. To me, is this hearsay?
Yeah.
It's all hearsay. And it's trying to use prior bad acts to make him a murderer. And that is not allowed. And that is, it isn't even fair. It's not even fair to do that. You can't use somebody's prior past behaviors.
Sure. Even the Judge Willis threw it out.
Right.
Even he threw it out.
Well, yeah, Kratz tried twice to get that in, and the judge said no.
But that
was my starring role in Cam. My one line.
That wasn't
allowed in court.
Correct.
Yeah, yet they want they want people who are sitting on the fence or who they can easily manipulate and flip to believe everything that they're saying and discount what we saw in Ma'am. And that's just 100% hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Oh, correct.
And
correct.
all the while, Kratz was already thinking, his wheels were spinning in his big head about how can he profit? How can he come on top after Ma'am? You know, with the book. And then they took advantage of the hype of Making a Murderer, and also their egos got in the way as well.
Remember the email between Brenda and
exactly.
And what he said,
Yes.
talking about we need to keep Ma'am too in the spotlight. So they're talking about TV deals and movies and all that.
Yes. Yeah,
To
he
keep him
foreshadowed
relevant.
everything. Mm-hmm.
To keep him relevant.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they wanted to take advantage of that.
I
And
want to
bank on
answer.
it.
I want to answer Jamie's question. He asked me up here. J. Jax, after watching Cam, is there anything that caught you by surprise or were shocked that did not already know? And you know that overall, no. I will tell you, as I've said before, there are additions to what they've said in the past. They added to known reports, and the prime example is Andy Colburn. Says this is talking about the license plate call that he called Wiegert. He's driving, he's on the phone, and he's trying to write this information down on his leg on a notepad while he's driving and talking on the phone. Well, that's the first time I ever heard that. I don't know about anyone else, but that was new. Candy saying this was an ad too also.
The big fire.
The big fire. She said, I guess she was at over at Dolores and Allen's. She looked out the window and saw the huge fire. I'm surprised the house didn't melt. What?
Correct.
And there were other additions as well. So no, there are a few photographs that we didn't have, and one of them was shown in a clip with Pevito earlier on November 10th. We don't have any of those photos at all. A couple of phone calls that I know that we didn't get. I'm trying to get them, but we don't have them because every phone call that we have is in the playlist, one playlist or another, all of them. So
yes,
that's about it, Jamie. So no, everything else I knew, everything.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I was thinking of there's going to be this great gotcha moment. I thought, oh my God, what the hell have they got that we don't know about?
Right.
No, not at all. And I think because we're nearly finished, I'm really looking forward to Duke's presentation on item BZ. Look, it's interesting. There's been a focus away from the RAV4 and a shift away from the blood in the RAV4, which I still think is one of the most important pieces of forensic evidence in the whole case. That's damning. It's now shifted towards the burn pit, right? So their notion is if you can prove that that's the primary burn site, then Stephen's guilty, Brendan's guilty. You see what's happening, Cam? The focus has been shifted. That's why they brought in Sarah Fausk with her hypothesis about the skin cells.
They got another problem with the burn pit because we pointed out a number of times is that Yost is the one that allegedly found this, and this officer with MTSO wasn't even going to write a report about it.
No.
His captain didn't even know for 3 days. How does, or not captain, Deputy Inspector Shutter, that was out there every day. He didn't know that Yost had found this alleged bone at the burn pit for 3 days. How does that shit work? I'm sorry. There's a real disconnect here and a real problem for me.
We've got somebody new in chat. Their name is Dissenter. Hi, Dissenter. Welcome to Foul Play. They says, Ma'am bended, twisted, and edited the hell out of the truth. Do you honestly believe Ma'am? No, we don't just believe Ma'am, and we've always stated from the beginning that we don't believe just Ma'am. We weren't duped by Ma'am. some of us have spent a lot of years on this case, and we have looked into documentation, trial transcripts, court documents, interviews that have been done, phone calls that was done, jail calls that was done. So there is a whole load of information that we've done. And if you look,
investigative reports.
Yeah, investigative reports, DCI reports, Manitowoc MTSO reports, is where it's all came from. And we've all deep dived into it. So we haven't just took the word of this documentary.
No.
We've actually went and researched it. And that's what we advise anybody and everybody. Don't just take our word for it. Don't take Mam's word for it. Go and deep dive. And this is just my opinion, but Cam hasn't showed me anything that I didn't already know, Stephen, or anything like that, because we've researched and we found the documentation. So that is my opinion. I will leave the rest of the panel to answer your question on that, but that is my opinion of it. So
I like what Travis said. He said Mam wasn't to show anyone was guilty or innocent. That's a false premise upon which they based convicting a murderer.
Correct. And don't forget, at the end of the day, despite all this creative editing that occurred in Mam, there are people that watch Mam who believed in the absolute guilt of Stephen and Brendan, right? So if 100% of everyone who saw Mam said, yep, Stephen and Brendan are innocent, then you might think, oh shit, everyone's had their amygdalas hijacked, right? But the mere factor that there were individuals who still thought in their guilt after watching Mam, what does that tell you, right? And yes, there was creative editing, and we've gone through it. We've shown where they modified some of Colburn's testimony, and that was wrong, 100% wrong. And Colburn had a civil suit against Netflix on that very thing, and the judge threw the case out. Right. So
and the reason why he threw it out is because,
correct.
You know, there was an objection in there that Kratz posed, but it didn't change the answer.
No, it did not change
at all.
It did not change.
It didn't change. It didn't change anything. So the gist of the conversation was not truly altered. If it had altered it, they might have had a case to sink their teeth in a little bit, but it didn't alter anything.
100% correct. And but though Jack 61, sorry for interrupting, Cam was thinking that Colburn was going to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are other instances. I mean, that we know anyone that's dove deep into the Colburn case like we did.
Correct.
You know, when it got interesting after the second amended complaint, which they allowed them to do, they didn't have to do that, but they did. They modified it and they put in other things. And no disrespect to our new person at all. Yes, there was some editing done in Making Murder. It wasn't extensive as I think what you're trying to make it out to be, and it didn't alter anything whatsoever. It didn't alter anything at trial whatsoever. Did it alter some people's perception? Maybe, but I think that group would have been a very low group. And I'm saying this because there was already a stigma with Manitowoc County and what they did in 1985. You can't just say that man just created this. That's not true at all. It's not. This stigma was brought in by what happened in 85. Stephen should have gone to jail for what he did to Sandra Morse. You don't do that shit at all. No. But this other, I'm sorry, no. Absolutely not. So they had a problem. They had a perception problem going into the rest of it. To me, they already had a stain and a bad one. So, from that standpoint, and other, I'm just trying to think about Mam and the various episodes. I can't think of really too many that there was really anything altered. Certainly didn't change my perception of what happened. And I was one of those ones. I was involved in when we first got the pre-trial, the trial testimony. I was immediately reading that shit within 2.5, 3 months of MAM airing. So it didn't really affect me that way.
Correct. And plus, mind you, the foul play team read the entire court document, all of them.
Yes.
The whole trial transcripts, the whole lot.
Pre-trial, trial. Yep. Some of we haven't gotten really into the post-trial, but.
Yep, correct. And we went through Kratz's book where Mr. Kratz went through the allegations of editing, and we went through it. And the gist of the conversation did not change. Colburn said yes to one question, they transposed it, and Colburn said yes to the other question. So the actual answer and the gist of what Strang asked was exactly the same.
It was still yes. Right. The answer was still. Well, and you want to talk about editing. What about the flower footage that was handed to the defense? Come on. They were up in the air for a couple of hours. Ended up with actually minutes of chopped up, terrible footage of what they shot. You want to talk about editing? Look at the phone calls that we got. I'm talking about dispatch and radio calls.
Yep.
You can't tell me that Manitowoc County didn't have any radio traffic for November 4th, 2005. Where the hell's that at? That got edited out. Anyway, go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then Andy himself, I love when he says, they made me look more guilty. I'm like, Andy, are you aware of what you just said?
Yeah, right. Correct. Great. Look, guys, we're nearly 3.5 hours. Shall we play the last clip? And we'll
let's do this last clip. No, let's get this one done. Yeah, let's get it done. Yeah. Right, here we go. Clip 9. Shall we read these out or just let them play?
Yeah, if you want to. If you want to read it out, go for it.
I'll read the first one. March 10th, 2023, United States Eastern District of Wisconsin dismissed Andrew Colburn's lawsuit against the filmmakers and Netflix. And we read through that all. We've got all that for free if you want to dive into the case in the library. All right, I'm going to continue on. The judge stated that there were no proof that the filmmakers or Netflix acted maliciously to intentionally harm his reputation.
That's some sad music.
Yep. I'll let this get everything on board. And Susan, if you want to read this, or
Stephen Avery is currently in Fox Lake Correctional Institution serving a life sentence. He's made numerous attempts to appeal his guilty verdict, but has been unsuccessful. He also has a new fiance.
Wow. I don't know if there's anything else there to add or not. I'll continue on.
Yeah.
All right. Here's Brendan. I'll let everything get on the screen. Alice, can you want to read this?
Yep, sure, Jack. Brendan Dassey is currently in Oshkosh Correctional Institution, serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole in 2048. In June of 2018, the United States Supreme Court denied hearing his case. He currently has no appeals pending.
I don't know if there's anything else after this. Let me play a little bit more. Nope, that's into that one. Then Teresa. All right.
Done. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it pisses me off when they say that we
we could care less about Teresa, or we don't focus on Teresa, or, you know, it's all gone beyond Teresa. And, you know, that's just not true. I mean,
No.
she's a big part of why we do this. You know, if her
Correct.
actual killers are not in prison, it's a big problem. There's no justice for Teresa.
That's right.
I agree. Yep, I agree. Well, look, guys, I don't know how we did it, but we finished.
We powered through.
We powered through, and I think we did a great job in our rebuttal. I think we're very, very fair in our rebuttal of episode 10. But tomorrow, hopefully, with open mic, if Duke comes along, we'll play those 2 clips again, the one involving the cremains, and hopefully we can get some more information about item BZ. But unless there are any questions or anything like that, comments, shall we quickly go around the table, Jack 61, and tell us how you're coming along?
Oh,
Jack
sure.
61.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc. Yeah. I want to thank everyone first for all the great questions and commentary. You know, is going through this rebuttal and what we see as, you know, our issues with convicting a murderer. This is going to continue. We're going to go back to the beginning. It's going to be probably a little bit different we've been talking about this kind of on our own. Probably the first 3 or 4 episodes we're going to combine into probably 1, no more than 2 rebuttals, because I think we can get as much as we need, because basically those episodes were destroying Brendan and Stephen. And I mean, how much of that do we really need to rebut? I mean, we've done a lot of it already, but so I think that, you know, probably, I don't know, Doc and everyone else, I think we can probably do it in 1 podcast and be done with it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You know, other than that, just been helping Amy a little bit with the case she's working on. And of course, you know, Rhonda's and Kay and Cherie's work on Daniel and going through the different testimonies. That's been a real treat. Whew, Lord have mercy, that last one, Rhonda. Holy crap. So just been, you know, staying busy, staying after this and that. And yeah, that's about it. I want to thank everybody we've had a really good crowd tonight. Everybody's been really well behaved. I think I've seen anything that's been outlandish. Great commentary, great questions. And let's keep it up. Let's get all this done and rebutted and move on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jack 61. Next we have just Rhonda. Just Rhonda, how are you coming along?
I'm doing okay, Doc. I feel like not overwhelmed in a sense that I need to take a break or anything, but just overwhelmed with all of this cam stuff and, you know, Making a Murderer and Stephen and Brendan. I mean, I think about them every single day and wonder what their life must be like. And, you know, it's just something that we can't put ourselves in their shoes. All we can really do is just keep trying to, you know, do what we can to try to show that there's another story out there. And yeah, we're like, we're digging into one of the, well, they're all controversial because they're all lies, but one of the more controversial / interesting, crazy accusers in Daniel's case, and that's Shardarian Hill. And on Tuesday, we're going to do a show on Tuesday and start reading the trial transcript of her case. It's a long transcript. It's over 200. I can't remember exactly, but it's over 200 pages long. Yeah, well, because there's just so much craziness in her story. It's a rather long story, and it's just as grotesque and foul and nasty as some of the other ones, but even more so.
It's
And,
terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Oh, God.
My
really
God.
bad.
Well, I mean, this is one of the accusers that, you know, like once she starts talking, she's talking to Rocky, one of the lead detectives, and she just keeps adding it to her story. It just never ends. She just keeps adding to things that there's just no way could happen anyway. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. She does. She keeps adding, and she keeps just we hear, you know, believe how you feel, you know, think what you want about people who buy into you know, body language and that kind of thing, but there's just no possible way. And when you watch her body language in her police interview and you try to, you know, put together in your mind the things that she's saying, there's just no picture that can be, you can't complete a picture of that puzzle. And but you know, she's going to go on during her trial transcript to profess that she is not a liar. I don't lie. I never lie. I've never told a lie.
Rhonda,
And
I only got
yes.
one. I only got one thing for you. I'm the door.
I'm the door. Yes. Oh God. I wish we could just play that for everybody who doesn't know our case.
It is so crazy. Maybe someday we have a little time on the open mic. We'll dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do. Here's what I'm suggesting too. We're going to attempt to do another open mic about Daniel's case. You know, as soon as the camp stuff settles down, Jack and I will get together and we'll work that out. But
absolutely.
Anyway, it's just it's going to be a 2-part trial testimony because it's so long. So we'll do the first part on Tuesday, and then I know Amy does a podcast on Monday nights, so I don't really want to, but I need to work in another day, maybe Tuesday night, to do the second part, because on Thursday night, you know, we hopefully want to wrap it up, but it's pretty outrageous. And I just have a request. Jack has been so kind to stream my podcast through Foul Play, and that's awesome, and it's helped us a lot. It's bringing more awareness to the case, and I appreciate it so much. What I would ask a favor of is, if you're watching through Foul Play, that's perfectly fine. That helps Foul Play as well. But if you could, please subscribe to my channel as well, and come to my chat. And comment in my chat.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I you know,
she's
anyway,
just like us. She's trying to get the information out. It's not an ego thing. She just wants the information out, like what we're trying to do in Stephen and Brendan's cases. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and it's just taking a long time. It's a hard case to get people to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's hard.
Simply because he's a former cop and committed of nasty crimes, and so, or accused of nasty crimes. So it's really hard to get serious people to, you know, pay attention to it. So yeah, it's not an ego thing at all. I just would like to help get some more. If you're watching it from Foul Play, you're only getting a part of the story. If you can come to my channel and subscribe and watch some of the videos we've already done, it will help you. I think a great deal of you will be interested in Daniel's case as well.
It's a horrible case.
It's as bad or worse. It's actually probably in some ways worse than Stephen and Brendan's, because there's 13 accusers.
Yeah.
In one trial, and that makes it so much worse. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was a long thing. Sorry about that. But yeah, so there's a lot going on. And then Cherie and I have been kind of helping Amy with her case on Ashley Garth. So, you know, we're trying to help her get her case out as well. So there's a lot going on in true crime and wrongful convictions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And your amygdala is okay? No, amygdala.
Yeah, I didn't even know I had one, so I'm pretty sure it's never been hijacked.
Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. And next we have Susan. Susan, how about yourself? How are you coming along?
I'm coming along just fine, Doc. Thank you. I just wanted to answer. Travis had a question for all of us, really. He said, "What do you think that Ma'am was really about? And what part of Ma'am caused you the most emotional outrage, if any?" I think it was actually about our criminal justice system in the U.S. and how it functions. And the thing that caused me the most emotional outrage is what happened with Brendan through the courts.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yep. The first judge saying he was obviously coerced, and then the appeals of the state.
Brad Schimmel all the
goes
time.
to the next level up.
Well, he won the second one too. He won the second one too.
Second one.
Yep.
That's three judges right there.
Correct.
The first one was included with the second three. Was he not?
Yes. So it
was also
back
on
then, it was 3-1. 3-1. And then Paul Brendan lost
and
4-3.
That was infuriating. That was infuriating to me. I learned a lot about our criminal justice system. I was in the dark. I never followed it. I have never known anybody to be convicted of anything or be charged with anything personally. I just hadn't been exposed to that. So, and here I am 7.5 years later, obsessed with it. Like, shit needs to change. I mean, it's just infuriating, the way that everything works, the way it's done. And so, anyway, that's what I learned.
Thank you so much, Susan.
You bet.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Alice. Alice, how about yourself?
Yeah, hi, Doc. My chakras are all aligned, my chi's intact, and my aura is booming. So yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing's bloody ridiculous. But yeah, doing okay. Loving having a grandbaby. That's what a lot of my attention was on. I was ill the last few days with a cold, so it's kind of easing off now. So I'm kind of hoping to be going seeing the grandbaby maybe at the beginning of the week. My lovely Aussie. So
good name,
yeah, just
good name, by the
spending
way.
as much time as I can with Aussie and the family. Because he's growing so fast, Doc. I mean, that's him over a month old already. It's like he's like 6 weeks, nearly 7 weeks now. So, and it's just going by so fast. So yeah. So I just miss him every minute.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's been keeping me busy for the last wee while. Looking forward to seeing what Rhonda's got coming up. Well, I am and I'm not, because some of these accusers are just absolutely ridiculous. The stories that they've told is unbelievable, and I don't know why they got believed in the bloody first place. Never mind, got a court case out of it,
Yes.
And some of these women have actually had bloody money for it as well, so the more we can, I posted Rhonda's YouTube channel in the chat, so if you haven't already, please click on that link that I posted and go and subscribe, and leave a wee comment, because that helps with our algorithms and everything like that. So and looking forward to tomorrow to see what we've got. Thanks to everyone in chat. Looking forward to seeing what Duke and that's got, and yourself, Doc. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Alice. Next, we have I Don't Recall. How are you coming along?
I'm doing well. I want to answer or give my perspective on Travis's question. I felt like the filmmakers wanted to open our eyes to what's wrong with the justice system, and it just horrified me that, among other things, that police or law enforcement can use the system for their own retribution or their own, because they're mad at somebody, and just to realize it could happen to any of us, it's scary. But so that's why I'm here, one of the reasons.
Thank you so much. Yep. Basically, I'm there for the same type of reasons too, to find the truth. And I was shocked when I saw Ma'am. I couldn't believe just how horrible the system was, and I believe it got it wrong, especially for Brendan Dassey. It still shocks me. And now I can't even go back and reread the interrogations. They're just so bad. And I could feel very sorry for Just Rhonda having to go through those transcripts, because they'll be awful, absolutely awful. All right, guys. Neverly, how about yourself? Any final comments?
My comment regarding Ma'am, what it taught me and how I left after watching it, it was never for me about Stephen and Brendan. It's rather unfortunate that it was about two people who were in that situation, but it was never about personally, Stephen and Brendan. I walked away with this fear. I was so scared when I realized what could happen.
To anyone.
When I realized, yes, to anyone. When I realized that law enforcement is not there to actually look at your best interest. They're there to get the case solved and closed. They did not look for Brendan's best interest. Can we all agree on that?
Definitely.
Nobody can deny that.
No.
Nobody can deny that. And to me, that was so, so scary, because in this group, we're kind of similar age. We all have children. It was I left in a panic. So yeah, that's what I thought about it. And of course, the injustice system and the judges, the corruption, the sleaziness, the aggressiveness of the whole process. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then when you don't have money, you're fucked.
You're
sorry,
in trouble.
but you are.
You're screwed.
Yeah, trouble. There you go.
Correct.
Screwed. Yeah. How about
Correct.
you, Dr. Silkman?
Yeah, I mean, basically for the same reasons. It was a very eye-opening experience for me, being from Australia. I just couldn't believe the shenanigans that took place. And I believe that from what I've read and discussed with many people, I believe that the investigation itself was very, very badly compromised. The forensics were horrendous. They were just shocking. A lot of the DNA stuff done by Cherie Culhane was just terrible. And the other thing, of course, which blew my mind, was Dr. Eisenberg, how badly her forensic work was, looking at the cremains. An individual which I found really hard to really get along with or like was Ken Kratz himself. I didn't like Tom Fassbender, Wiegert, the way they conducted themselves, especially with Brendan, was just terrible. Tom Fallon as well. So it's a lot of nasty characters. To me, it's been a very valuable lesson, learning exercise, and we're still learning. So, just to finish off, guys, again, we give our condolences to Linda and her family. Terrible times for them coming up. We've all been through it. We know it's going to be very, very hard. And again, guys, we dedicate the podcast to Linda and her memory and her good work. And guys, I'd like to say thank you so much. Been a fantastic audience today. We've got a lot of people in chat, a lot of people with great, great questions. And guys, we will all see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to say it's been a Foul Play production.